Jackson on the drive, kicks it out for man. Man, three-pointer, bang! Oh, what a man!
Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12, good!
Here's Michael at the foul line, a shot on Elo,
Good! The Bulls win! They win it!
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ,
Going up over Bell, ball away. Yes! Yes! At the buzzer, he does it! Was there ever a doubt? A Smith screen. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life.
It's a physical game. Oh, me, oh, my! A monster jam by Blake Griffin.
We have to do that again.
Jackson on the drive.
Kicks it out for man. Man, three-pointer. Bang! Oh, what a man. Let's fucking go. Let's get it. Comments, baby. Ah! Suns in 5. Suns in 5. Come on. Suns in 5. Suns in 5. Say it with me. Suns in 5. I'm just giving you guys more time to get in. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the first post-game live of the playoffs 2023 Game 1s. Talking every single Game 1 here on Dime Dropper because, man, listen, I watched every single one of these games, and I'll tell you what, like, there's just nothing better than playoff basketball. I mean, is there anything better than the playoffs, dude? Playoffs! Shout out to the great Jim Mora, man. What a first weekend of games. 8 games to talk about and so little time. Just kidding. I'll give you as much time as you need. And obviously, we're going to know where to start. LA all day, baby. Both teams coming out with the win on the road. So I already know my subscribers are happy. And the LA Kings kick off their campaign tomorrow against the Edmonton Oilers. So LA hopefully will go 3-0, stealing home court and home ice for the people here at Dime Dropper and the people of LA County. But anyways, I won't be talking about every single game. If you're listening to this video, man, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, bless you. God bless you. The timestamps are there if you want to just listen to a specific game or you don't want to hear me talk about a game that you don't necessarily care about. As far as YouTube, you know the deal, man. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you know every single time I go live or make a video. I did a preview for 6 out of 8 series with fans from those teams. So if you want to go see, the series are still young. Want to go see what I said? Some stuff aged really well, and I'm going to be talking about that as I do this review or recap, analysis, whatever the fuck you want to call it. But, man, super chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 a dime. Any donation counts. Every single time you guys give me something, man, seems like the equipment and the stuff we use just keeps getting better, keeps getting sharper. The presentation just keeps getting better. So anything you guys can give me helps, man. But, yeah, follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at Dime Dropper Pod. Let's get right into it. So I actually didn't take notes for any of these games. I was watching so many games, man. And, by the way, I want to refer to this comment. Raid Chowdhury said only the FIFA World Cup rivals the NBA playoffs. Absolutely right. Nothing's like the World Cup. Everybody on my channel knows that. But there's nothing better annually to me than the NBA playoffs, man. And, I see a comment from Zachary Darrington. The series isn't over. Of course not, man. Listen, all season long. So let's get into the first game. Clippers and Suns. Duh. Let's be real, guys. All season long, I've been pretty negative about this team. And for good reason. They've shown us nothing. It's been all let's see what happens in the playoffs kind of attitude. And so if that's the attitude that they wanted to have in the regular season, why should I get super hyped for any win? Now, you could also be saying, why did you get so down on wins? Because, again, we are still flirting with and battling history in this run. We're going to be the 5 seed. It's going to be hard to win a championship like this. And I'm not going to let the way the season has gone deter us from what the initial goal was and what this potential roster is capable of and these group of players are capable of. You ask everybody in that locker room what we're playing for, and they're going to say championship. And they should realistically believe that too. Because if you go into the Suns locker room and ask them the same question, they're also going to say the same thing. And listen, the Suns are battling history too. Teams that make those kind of big moves in the middle of the season don't usually win chips. seeds below the 3 don't usually win chips. So the Suns are battling with history basically as much as we are. But the point is, I've been pretty not too high on every single win we get all season. But it's so nice to finally be able to get high on a win, man. It's so nice to finally be able to celebrate a little bit, to get nervous, to really be able to just let out a yell like this shit really matters again, man. And then watching other teams and really dissecting the game and seeing adjustments, seeing teams play hard. I mean, since the playing game started, it's just been a different league, man. It's a different league. And I think that's my biggest issue with today's NBA, man. I'm not a biggest fan of the style, the 2 3-point heavy, all that. Everybody knows that. But I still accept change, The league changes. Every era has its own beauties and different stylistic beauties. But what I really don't like is that we don't see the best players enough in this era to me. In the back in the day, the regular season was good and the playoffs were amazing. Now the playoffs are amazing and the regular season, in my opinion, kind of sucks. So that's what makes the playoffs look even that much better and feel that much more important in today's game, because I think the regular season can be so underwhelming. So I had so much fun this weekend. But let's get into it. So the Clippers, normal starting lineup. The Suns went with Torrey Craig instead of Okogie. I predicted Okogie. And so I talked about for 47 minutes, my last episode, everything we needed to do to beat the Suns. But one thing I forgot about was the blatantly obvious. As a Chris Paul, I always say I have a PhD in CP3 and LeBron. Those are the 2 players I think I know better than anybody, and like anybody that's ever played. Chris Paul, you got to funnel him to his left as much as you can, because going to his right, he's one of the best to ever do it. He loves that right elbow. And I talked about how we sat on that right elbow, especially Ivica Zubac has sat on that right elbow so well when we played against Chris Paul in previous years and obviously in the 2021 Western Conference Finals. But you got to try to funnel him to his left as much as possible. And what I thought was really interesting in this game was to start, I'm always looking at, how teams are guarding to start games. That's the first thing I look at when I watch any basketball game, is how teams are guarding. And back in the day, it's who's matched up with who. But usually it's pretty self-explanatory. Back in the day, it was the point guard guards the point guard, the 2 guards the 2, and everybody guards their positional matchup. But now it's really, how are you going to guard certain pick and rolls? That's what everybody talks about. That's what coaches talk about. And the Suns did exactly what I predicted in my video. Exactly. They put Ayton on Zoo. They put Book on EJ. They put Craig on Kawhi. They hid CP3 on Nico. And they put KD on Russ to have length on him. So when he drives, he's seeing obviously a guy with 7, not a Chris Paul. People were talking about, Russell Westbrook's got to take advantage of Chris Paul. I knew that they were not going to try to let Chris Paul guard Russ like that. It was going to be KD and then have CP3 hide on Nico, because even if you put CP3 in the action, and if he's not going to get abused by Nico and like the post or anything like that. So if you put CP3 in the action, maybe he'll be able to switch. If it's Russ, running a little pick and pop with Nico, they can switch that and switch CP3 onto Russ, but they wouldn't start possessions with him guarding Russ. But what I thought was really interesting, what we were doing. I thought we were going to go Nico guarding KD, and then Book being guarded by EJ, Russ guarding CP, Zoo guarding Ayton, and then Kawhi hiding on Craig to conserve energy. But what we actually did was we had Nico guarding Book, Russ guarding KD, Kawhi was guarding Aiden, Zoo was guarding Craig, and then it was EJ guarding what's his name? CP? Yeah, CP. So, but the thing is, certain guys took a crack at everybody, but here's the craziest part was, so you're wondering, why did the Clippers do that? The reason why Zoo is guarding Torrey Craig is so he can come play help side defense as a 7-footer, just like this Grizzlies did with Jaren Jackson with AD. And we also did it so that Kawhi guards Ayton. And so when Ayton, who's obviously going to set the most screens in the pick and roll for whether it be KD, Book, or CP3, they like to use the center as the roller. Teams throughout history in basketball like to use their biggest guy to set the screen and roll. Now the Clippers will switch that action. The only problem is if it's a CP3 Ayton pick and roll, can Russ switch on to Ayton? And one time in the beginning of the game, you saw them throw it up over the top of Russ and Ayton got a layup. But for the most part, they didn't really go with CP3 running pick and roll as much. It was a very low CP3 pick and roll kind of game. And every time they did, I think the Clippers did a hell of a job forcing him to his left, funneling him that way, and making sure they were in his rear view. And, CP3 going to his left, he has to come to a full stop. He's not shooting off, on a dime with a guy at his hip like he's going to his right. Because what he does when he's going to his right is he'll shoot on a dime and then fade to his right as he turns his body to square his shoulders to the rim. That's his signature. He did that over and over with us, and he's done it throughout his career. But going to his left, he has to come to a full stop. And him being 6 feet, if you put a little bit of length on him, then sometimes he can't even get the shot off and often doesn't get clean looks. And in this game, we had a great rear view contest with CP. He was really quiet. But as I said, I think that's okay if he's really quiet offensively. I don't think he should be handling the ball and pick and roll so much all the time. He needs to be letting KD and Book do more of that. He needs to make catch and shoot threes. He needs to play D. But he still needs to shoot better than what he shot tonight. I mean, what did he do? 2 for 8. But he did, 7 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists. He almost had a triple-double. They needed him to score a little bit more. I think he started playing better in the second half. But overall, not too concerned about him. I think obviously what stuck out was that Russ was guarding Kevin Durant and doing an amazing job. I mean, that was the best part about this game, man. Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook were the standouts. But, this is a great lesson for all you kids out there, man, who want to know how to affect a game when you are not hitting your shots. I always say this, guys. You know this. You're my fans, my followers. You always hear me say this. Missing shots is missing shots. It's going to happen, and it happens to everyone. Sometimes you just can't control that. I know it sounds like a stupid thing. Of course you can control the shots you take, but sometimes you just have a bad night. It's basketball. It happens. But what you can control is all the other things in a game, the effort things, the attention to detail, the rebounding, the effort. And Russ, I said it in the preview, man, when he plays against Kevin Durant, it's a totally different level. It's a totally different type of fire. I mean, Russell Westbrook, for the most part, is pretty fiery, works hard. But when he's playing against KD, it's a different type of animal that comes out. And you saw that in this game. He was fighting over every screen, whether it be against CP, Booker, KD, hustling to get over him and get back into play and poking the ball away from behind, getting blocks from behind, using his incredible bounce to swat shots from behind, kind of similarly to Patrick Beverley, how we used to do with the Clippers. I used to try to time those blocks when guys would go up when he was chasing them from behind. Russ did such a good job with that. And I also thought Eric Gordon, he had to guard KD at times. He had to guard Book at times. And yeah, sometimes he got scored on, but a lot of times he held his own. And I talked about EJ. Which EJ are we going to get? Are we going to get the lazy one that's like acting like he doesn't give a shit? Or are we going to see him play like he did in that game against Phoenix last time, right before we got Russ? And it was the latter. And not only that, he started out by giving us an offensive boost in the beginning of the game, EJ, knocking down threes. But it all starts with guess who? Number 2, Kawhi. Playoff Kawhi. We talked about it all season long. I've been mad at him for a little bit, and the way we treat him in terms of the medical staff, sometimes not closing games. But overall, Kawhi's been great this season, but he needs to be even a level greater to win the championship, even maybe 2 levels greater to win without Paul George. He needs to attract 2 defenders. He needs to make shots. He did both of those things tonight. Starting out in the beginning of the game, when he gets within 15 feet, doesn't matter if Craig's in his face, turn around over the right shoulder, 2 dribble, pump fake. You don't bite, you're going to shoot the next one. I mean, those contests, it's like similar to Kobe in the sense that they don't seem like they're there. And the difference between Kobe, MJ, Jerry West, and Kawhi, that may be my Mount Rushmore of mid-range. Sorry, KD. I'm only going with guys that have led their teams to chips. Although in Jerry West's case, you can say that Wilt kind of led the team to the chip. But whatever. My point is this. I like those 4. KD, you can obviously argue KD's in there, But what I like about those 4 is, or the Jerry West, Jordan, and Kobe, they get a lot of elevation on their jumper. KD has the height. Kawhi, though, he has a high release point, but he doesn't seem like he doesn't really get off the ground on his jumper like that. He's got dudes right in his face, and he hits it like it's no problem. By the way, I just got a comment. DeMar DeRozan, are you please? Whenever the playoffs comes around, he sees 2 defenders, and he looks like he's seeing ghosts. So don't compare them. This is Mount Rushmore we're talking about here. We're talking about snipers. I mean, DeRozan's fantastic regular season, but the playoffs, it's all about mental too. He's fantastic though. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I'm not putting him on that level. Point is though, Kawhi, he hits shots when you might as well not even have a contest. He's so ridiculous. And he got off to a solid start, and the Clippers defensively were just on it. They were leading 30-18 after 1. Russell Westbrook did not get off to the best start shooting the ball, and obviously had a terrible shooting night. But we started to see the second quarter, the reinforcements coming in, and you saw the difference in the Clippers bench versus Phoenix. I mean, everybody knows that the Clippers are insanely deep, and the Suns, having made this trade, are not as deep. And obviously, throughout the years, we always say, depth doesn't matter as much as you think. Rotations shrink in the playoffs, and all that's true. I found that out the hard way 10 years ago against Memphis. But it still does matter, especially when you have a team with such little depth as Phoenix. And mind you, Cam Payne didn't play tonight. Cam Payne gives the Suns a lot of pace, and he caused us a lot of problems in the playoffs in 2021 in those first 2 games before Chris Paul came back, 2 games that they won. And so having him not play, especially when, they're not really getting anything going, you're not getting anything from the bench is big. So Norman Powell came in, and one thing I really like to see about Norm, he was hitting his shots, like his jumper, He's been playing really, really good, or really, really well lately, but the jumper, the 3-ball especially, has kind of lagged behind. We saw him kind of get that back in this one, which was really great. Not from 3, actually, only 1 for 4 from deep, but he actually made one. And then 5 for 10 overall. He hit a couple of mid-ranges. He even hit a one contested, 18-footer late in the game. It was ridiculous. I was surprised he hit it. But Kawhi and Russ staggered most of the game. And what's funny about Ty Lue is he said that Marcus Morris, who was in uniform, by the way, would have a role in this series. But, one thing I've noticed about Ty Lue the last couple of big games, the bluff guy. And he bluffed. He went with the 9-man rotation that we've seen recently. And so when Andrew Greif, or Grief, still don't know how to pronounce his damn name. I don't know why no one's told me how. But when he wrote that article a couple months back about how Ty was starting to wanted to shrink the rotation and kind of figure out who he wanted to go with in the playoffs, there were 2 big things that he said that you kind of had to attach to. And that was that he wants a 9-man rotation, and he was going to start doing it. And he showed us his cards, Clipper fans. It's the Bones Highland, I almost said Robert Covington. Bones Highland, Mason Plumlee, Terrence Mann, and Norman Powell. That's the 9. Those are the 4 guys off the bench without Paul George. That's the 9. So we saw that in this one, and they did very well. Although the Suns, as the game went on, and by the way, KD was kept in check, man. And I thought, the thing about he and Devin Booker is they're going to take tough shots. Those mid-range shots, for them, they're not that tough, but their shot diet is not the easiest, They're not getting really easy looks at the rim, the mid-range mafia. They're going to be living off those shots. And mid-range does win in the playoffs, absolutely. I'm a big believer of that. You need the in-between game. You can't just have threes and layups. Houston Rockets are a prime example back in the day. But you still want to generate some easy baskets. And the Suns don't do that too much. And as I said, look, Book and KD missed a lot of shots in the first half that they normally make. You're just going to have to contest best you can and live with it. I know Zubats is going to do a good enough job in drop coverage. I know he's going to step up on the screens, whatnot. But the thing is, what he hasn't had consistently all season is he hasn't had guys fighting over those screens. So he doesn't have to, basically guard 2 players at once. And tonight, you saw players actually fighting for Zoo, fighting over screens, trying to, be in the rear view contest and get back in front over screens. Makes Zoo's job easier. Thought Zoo was really solid as well. Finishing around the rim. I still think I'm going to be literally saying this for years and years to come, it seems, but more Zoo post touches would be nice. But again, when he got the ball in the post a couple of times, right-handed jump hook over Ayton, he can score too. Make Ayton guard. I think it was an interesting game because I feel like Ayton, we put him in the pick and roll a decent amount, but I don't think we really got too great of looks or abused him or anything like that. I think we were looking more to get smaller guys, certain wings and smaller guards switched on to Kawhi. And I also think that Torrey Craig had a really good game because they tried to put Zoo in the pick and roll with Craig, and Craig, instead of picking and popping for 3, he was kind of picking and popping for a mid-range, and it seemed like he kind of had that shot down pat. Made a couple of those. He was 2 for 4 from 3 and 9 for 12 in the game, 22 points. So really good game from Torrey Craig. And that's okay. We let the others beat us. That's a strategy I kept saying. As long as Devin Booker and Kevin Durant don't go ballistic, just let the others beat the Clippers. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. As long as we also hit shots. And that's the craziest part about this game. We really didn't hit shots like that. We were 10 for 31 from three, 32%, only 44% from the field. The Suns, though, they don't really shoot that many threes. So in terms of the math game, as they like to say, they don't really, they're not strong in that department, really. 6 for 19 from three, 47% from the field. They did get to the line 33 times, Clippers 29 times. I thought the refs were like a joke tonight, especially in the second half in favor of them. I know home-centric officiating, but Devin Booker, he played a really good defensive game, but he was getting away with murder some of those times. And then he complains on every call. And Terrence Mann doesn't really get much respect from officials at all. Zubats gets none. We already know that. And then Bones Highland straight up got slapped in the face and didn't call shit. So fuck those refs. But Clippers are up by 5 at the end of the second, and I'm not going to lie, the Suns started to get going a little bit before the half ended. KD, Devin Booker starting to knock down some shots. And so I was feeling a little bit nervous going into the second half. And in the third quarter, the Suns starters made their push. KD started getting going a little bit more. Chris Paul, made a nutmeg between the legs pass and between the legs of Zubats. Ayton started to hit a couple of push shots, mid-ranges on the pick and rolls. Devin Booker was starting to get going. I was starting to get a little nervous. Torrey Craig was hitting shots. We went down by 6. They called a timeout. The Suns crowd got into it, and obviously very loud. Phoenix has been a really tough place to play lately, the last couple of years since they've had this resurgence. But thought Ty Lue did a good job utilizing his timeouts, and we responded. There were stretches in that third quarter where we really weren't getting buckets, and Russ was just pretty awful offensively. He was missing shots. Every single shot he shot was short, like every single one. And it's definitely not that he didn't have legs, I don't think, because he was running all over the place, working super hard, but he was just short on every shot. I don't know what to say. And look, in that stretch, when we needed a guy to get buckets, Kawhi Leonard was getting buckets. We started to see KD guard Kawhi more. And honestly, he did a better job than Craig. KD's such an underrated defender. But as I always say, when Kawhi starts getting going and he's in that kind of mode, no matter who you have guarding him, he's a contested mid-range sniper. So he catches the ball at the elbow, coming off those pin downs, coming off those cross screens. They switch a certain guy on him. Don't matter if it's just anybody switched on him. He's rising over the top. He had a shot right over KD in that second half. Knocking down shots, knocking down his 3-ball. Obviously, Kawhi has been lights out from deep lately, and 3 for 5 from deep in this game. Also got to the line, even though he should have gotten to the line more. The refs, again, just bullshitting us in the second half. But that's the crazy part. We didn't even get the better whistle, and we still won. And we didn't shoot well from 3. Suckers. But third quarter, Suns outscored the Clippers 27-22. And even though Kawhi was getting going, Russ started to do too much. That's my one thing with Russ. If you're not hitting shots, okay, I understand keep shooting, but don't force it. He was starting to force it. And I was like, we don't need this. We still have Kawhi out there who's having a good game. We still have Eric Gordon out there who's having a solid game. Now, Eric Gordon did start to cool down. It started to make me a little nervous. Guys, Nico didn't really hit many threes. He was 1 for 3 from deep. Terrence Mann was 0 for 3 from deep. As I said, Norman Powell 1 for 4 from deep. Bones Highland 1 for 3 from deep. So we got a lot of decent looks from 3, and it wasn't falling. And then in the fourth quarter, tied at 81, I was like, look, even though Russ didn't have a great quarter, he was making some plays, rebounding and all that, but the third quarter was his worst quarter, no doubt about it. Kawhi kind of carried us for those stretches. I was saying that at the end of the day, you go into the fourth quarter, if you had told me before the game, go into it, tied up, I would take that all day long. It's just a matter of getting the job done. And I looked at my dad and my uncle. I was watching the game with them tonight, and I said, I wasn't panicking when the Suns went up 6 because I said, look, Kevin Durant or Devin Booker, one of them's going out soon. And I was shocked when they took 3 of them. I don't remember if it was in the first half or the second half, but they took 3 of the big 4 out at once. I said in the preview, they got to take out only 2 at once. And it's a huge mistake just leaving Devin Booker in there with the rest of the shitty bench players that they have for NBA standards, not shitty players, of course. But, they're trying to put Bones Highland in the pick and roll. And Bones was like, "You're all sleeping, man." He got a nice steal with his hand in the passing lane, and then he got fucking slapped in the face, didn't call anything. And there was another time where he did a decent enough job. I forgot. I think he just was hedging, recovering, chasing down. Clippers were making good rotations, made them make multiple plays, and they didn't really score. So I thought Bones Highland did fine. He held his own and showed that he is not as ridiculous defensively, or ridiculous is not the right word, as much of a liability, people should say defensively. He wasn't one in this game, as people think. And by the way, I love him to death, but I have to say it again. I'm sorry. Reggie Jackson didn't even touch the floor against Timberwolves. So we saw who won that trade. And by the way, so I see the comments right now, guys. I really appreciate everybody in here. About to reach 100 people in here. And no, I have not talked about the other games yet, Kelvin Cabrera. So thank you. I haven't. I will. But anyways, fourth quarter, Kawhi Leonard didn't come out of the game for more than like a minute. Like, it was such a quick rest. So that showed you that Ty Lue wasn't fucking around. He was trying to get his guy right back in the game. I thought Norman Powell made a couple of big plays in that stretch, getting to the basket a couple of times, getting to his right, that curl play. I thought the Suns did a decent job against Norm. But listen, 15 points, 5 for 10 from the field, 14 points, 5 for 10 from the field. I'm taking that all day. Plus 11. He didn't turn the ball over either. And yeah, you need double-figure scoring from Norm, at least, bare minimum. I still think he needs to average around 18 to 20 to win the series, but 15, when other guys play well, 15 will do, 14 will do, whatever it was, 14. But Terrence, man, I thought he also didn't have a very good game offensively. I thought he passed up 2 layups around the rim. Come on, Terrence, you're fantastic around the basket. You elevate, finish strong, go up strong. Don't be afraid. But defensively, great activity by Terrence. He was trying to, get under the skin of Chris Paul, Devin Booker. Even KD guarded once or twice and did a decent job. So Terrence, man, from an effort standpoint, doing what you expect him to do, he did that. And playoff Terrence, I guarantee you, is going to have some big games this postseason, I promise. And the Clippers closed with him as well. And we've complained all season, Tyler needs to close with Terrence. He did in this one. 10 points, 4 boards, 2 assists, and a steal for T. The only thing I didn't like, 4 turnovers. And I think a couple of those was from being indecisive. 3 for 6 from the field for him, 50%. All 3 of his 2s were made. Missed all 3 of his 3s. Good looks, by the way, except for one that was a step back, which was I think it was because nobody was really coming to the ball. 4 for 5 from the line for Terrence as well. So you'd love to see that. But Kawhi Leonard came back in and was making some big shots. I'm pretty sure he hit 2 threes in the fourth, had like 10 I'm trying to think how many points he had in the fourth. At least 10. He double digits in the fourth and was the best player in the game. I was watching the game, as I said, my uncle and my dad, and I looked at him and said, Kawhi Leonard, I said before the series, he's got to be the best player for the Clippers to win. And he was the best player in this game. KD, he had like a corner 3 late in the fourth quarter, and I was thinking, like, this guy, has he shot? Like, what's he doing? Like, I want to see how many shots KD took in the fourth. Classic, man. It's classic with KD. Sometimes he just lets the game come to him too much. Sometimes you just got to take the game out of the scruff of the neck. Oh, actually, he did shoot in the fourth quarter a decent amount. 5 shots. 5 shots in the fourth. Not bad, not bad. No shots, though, in the third. That's weird. So Kevin Durant should never go a whole quarter without shooting. But we'll take it, right? We'll take it. If he wants to, I think the biggest problem is Kevin Durant just got here. They haven't, as I said, they haven't been tested. They haven't actually played real teams yet. So they don't know what these kind of situations are like. And, it's kind of like, who do you give the ball to in the end of the game, right? KD's the better player, but it's Book's team. It's Book's team. You know what I'm saying? He's the franchise player. He's the guy that's been there since he was drafted. So it seems like, for example, on that last play, when the Clippers were up by 3, they went to Book. I would go to KD for the 3 ball. I mean, they went for the quick 2, but the fact that they didn't even get, the shot at the rim, and they went for the quick 2, that makes you, hindsight's 20/20, but you obviously would have wished to get the ball to Kevin Durant there to shoot a 3 over the top, But Devin Booker is still his team, and I think KD defers. I will say this about KD, though. He did a pretty good job denying the ball against Kawhi. Well, a couple of times he got switched on him. He did a really good job denying. And yeah, Fourth quarter, I was very nervous about putting Russ back into the game. So the bench, they restored order. I also thought Mason Plumlee, really decent stretch in the game, rebounding, finishing around the basket, some decent moments for him. But I was nervous about Russ coming back in the game. I just, I was starting to see everybody talking about his inefficiency, his lack of shooting, and I was really nervous about him closing, man, very nervous. But Ty Lue brought him back in the game, and he was making huge defensive plays, just knocking the ball out of bounds, grabbing rebounds. It was just unbelievable. Every loose ball seemed like Russell Westbrook was getting it. And that's what he's all about, right? That's what he's kind of made his reputation on over the years, is just playing hard, playing with heart, playing with passion, with emotion. And shout out to my super chats, man. Says, do you think KD's going to have to go Kawhi mode if his counterparts don't do more? No, I don't think he's going to have to go Kawhi mode. I think 20 shots is not going Kawhi mode for me. I think he just needs to be a little more aggressive. But anyways, Kawhi was a beast in the fourth quarter. It's coming down to the wire, and a guy who wasn't hitting his three ball in the second half and then made a huge left wing three. EJ for three. Bingo! How about that? When he made that shot, I thought we had it right there. I really thought we had it. And it came after Russell Westbrook making big play after big play on defense, rebounding, forcing turnovers. And the last minute and a half or so, when the Suns made the three, or actually, no, I think it was 5 straight points, made it a 1-point game, 109-108. This is when it got fun. Russell Westbrook got 2 offensive rebounds on the same possession. You cannot ask for more. When they're going to sag off like that, you got to take advantage in some way, especially if you can't shoot. And Russ was not hitting anything. He got 2 offensive rebounds, and then he shot a 3. I did not like it, but he shot it. And then Terrence Mann and Kawhi were fighting for the rebound. I think it was Kawhi that knocked it off Torrey Craig's foot, and we got the ball back. And then Russ tries to go at Booker, clear-cut foul, and then he goes to the foul line. And a guy who's not a great free throw shooter, all the pressure in the world, knocks them both down when it counts. And, man, I'm going to say this. It felt pretty good to be on the side of unexpected clutch free throws by Westbrook against Chris Paul, because in Game 5 in 2014, Russ made all 3 free throws on that bullshit 3, and they won the game. But this time, it was the team with Russell Westbrook on it again that won the game, and that would be the Clippers. How about that block at the end? Booker going for a quick 2. Russ blocked him and knocked it off, and it went off threw it off his leg. I mean, it was just amazing. So, Russell, go Brook! Yes, sir! Talk to him, son! I'm in awe, guys. That's it for the analysis. Like, I'm in fucking awe. We really did that, man. We really did that. Went in there, played the best we could in terms of just what you can control. The shots weren't all going in, but that's what you can control. The effort, the fight, the attention to detail. We did all that. And Russell Westbrook, I mean, people have been saying, look, I'm a historian for sure, but I haven't seen everything. You know what I'm saying? But that definitely got to be one of the best 3 for 19 games in the history of basketball. I mean, a game you just have to watch to figure out with Russ. Just to watch to figure out his impact. What a win. What a performance defensively by the guys. The strategies all worked by Ty Lue, Zoo guarding Craig, even though KD and Chris Paul, they got double-digit assists each with those pocket passes. Fine, let them hit. Aiden started making some shots at the end. Okay, whatever. As long as KD and Booker don't get crazy, we're fine. And I don't know, they may have to start hard doubling Kawhi, because at this point, like I said before the game, don't double him at all. Just let him go one-on-one over and over. I don't know. That may not be a great strategy either. You might have to consider just trapping him hard and making the other guys just shoot threes and beat us. Trapping him hard and making others beat them. But anyway, let's read the stat lines tonight, man. Clippers lead the series 1-0, 115 to 110, stealing home court advantage in Phoenix. This is the first time we played Phoenix out of the 3 times we played them in the playoffs, and we won game 1. So that's big time. And the Clippers, I mean, when we win game 1, we usually win the series. I mean, 2006 we won game 1, won the series. 2012 we won game 1, we won the series. 2013 we won game 1 and we didn't win the series. 2015 we won game 1 and we won the series. Against the Thunder we won game 1, we didn't win the series. And 2016 we won game 1, but we didn't win the series. Oof. 2020 in the bubble we won game 1 and we won the series. But anyway, big win. 115 to 110. It's a long series, though. I said Clippers in 7 before the series. I'm going to stick with that pick. Clippers in 6, though. Why not, right? I'm going to start pushing that agenda because now we just got to win at home. But we haven't been a great home team all year, and we never seem to defend home court fully. We've never done that in any series that I've watched, except for the 2006 against Denver. We never seem to defend home court. So, I'll be at game 3. I won't be at game 4, which sucks. But all the other Clipper fans, man, like, let's get that shit popping and rocking like 2015 against the Spurs, like 2012 against Memphis, like game 6 against Utah. For all 3 games, man, they're going to need everything they can get from the crowd. And all we got to do is just be loud and hostile. And hopefully that'll help the team get 3 wins. And 3 wins, we win the series. By KD, by CP3, by Book. Easier said than done. At this point, man, like the Suns. So let's read the lines, right? And then I'll get into the final words before we move on because we already got 7 other games to talk about. And some of them are like blowouts. So I'm going to get through there's a clear 4 series that are really good. There's a clear other 4 series that are not so great. But one of them got a little bit more entertaining tonight. I'm going to talk about that in a sec. But let's read the lines for the Suns. They played 11 guys. And some of them, 5 of them only played. Sorry. Did they go 12 deep? Yeah, they went 12 deep. I'm sorry. No, it is 11. I'm asleep. It is 11. And 5 of them played less than 10 minutes. The only bench player that played more than 10 minutes was Landry Shamet. Here's something about Landry Shamet, right? He used to be Landry Sham Wet because his jumper used to be absolutely wet. And he used to be Landry with a capital L-A because obviously he was a Clipper. Back in the day, we used to have Shamet for 3. Bingo. That was my old intro. This one.
Gilgeous Alexander. Shamet for 3.
But now he's Landry Shambroke. And he didn't really do much, did he? What is he? 2 for 5, 4 points. 0 for 1 from deep. Terrence Ross played 4 minutes, 0 for 1. Jock Landale in the playoffs, not actually killing us, all season long when we played him. He had some good games against us, but in the playoffs, different level. And they randomly threw him in the second half. Wide open mid-range, we were leaving him open for, and he was bricking. 2 for 5, 1 for 3 for Jock. Okogie only played 7 minutes, which I was pretty surprised about considering the way he ended the regular season. 0 for 1. Bismack Biyombo, 0 for 0. He didn't even get a shot off. 2 points, 5 minutes played. Ish Wainwright. They tried to go small for a second, like 5 out. Didn't really work. They had Ish Wainwright at the 5. He had a donut. And then the starters. Torrey Craig, 22 points on 9 for 12 from the field. That's 75%. It's really good. 2 for 4 from deep and 2 for 3 from the line. So as far as Torrey Craig, he did his job. And then the big 4, Chris Paul, our good old friend. 7 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, funneled him to his left all night. And he's going to have to be better than 7 points. He's going to have to make that mid-range. Defensively, we tried to put him in the action a little bit, and it worked decently. We got Russ in that short roll a lot. A lot of times they were hedging and recovering. And Russ found Nico Batum and various guys for open threes. They weren't really hitting. But CP3 wasn't really attacked on defense like that much in this game. I think that's something we're going to see more of as the series goes on. But you're going to need more from Chris Paul if you're Phoenix. I mean, you're going to need him to score at like 13, 14 points. 2 for 8 is not going to cut it. And also, as I said, look, his 3-point percentage is efficient, right? 1 for 2. But remember what I said about loading up off of KD if we're 1 pass away? Load up, make KD pass, and then close out hard on Chris to run him off the line, a lot of times, because he has a slow release, if it's not a wide open, clear-cut look off the catch, he won't shoot it more often than not. So, and oftentimes he doesn't try to drive by anybody. He wants to like lull it and, get a screen. Like he slows the pace down, Chris Paul. We know this, in this stage of his career. So not much there. As far as Ayton, 18 points, 8 rebounds. Look, with Ayton, like they just use him like a role player, and he acts like a role player too. I think it goes both ways, but they don't really feed him. They don't get him involved. It's just pick and roll, and then minutes will go by without him getting a shot really. So, I look to see if Kawhi guards Ayton again in game 2, try to take away, limit their looks on pick and rolls, try to switch that a little bit more. But if I'm them in that situation, I just go to the Chris Paul Ayton pick and roll to see if we'll switch Russ onto Ayton. But I'm sorry. I thought Zoo was guarding Ayton for a sec there. And then Booker and Kevin Durant. I mean, they combined for 53 points. Book had 26, 4 steals, and 3 blocks, by the way. So, I mean, defensively, he was active, did his job. So for everybody that says Devin Booker doesn't play any defense, I mean, that narrative was over in 2019, 2020. No, 2019, because the year with Monty, I always say, is when I noticed the change. But he also turned the ball over 5 times, and the Suns only turned the ball over 10 times. So half the turnovers came from Book. So if you're a Suns fan, I think I have many. Let me know what you think about the way he played overall. 10 for 19 from the field for Book, but he was 0 for 3 from deep, and there were just a couple times in the game. Also, 6 for 8 from the foul line is really rare. I just think there were a couple times in the game where Book missed a lot of shots that he normally makes. And also, he doesn't generate easy shots. They're all just very hard, contested mid-ranges off the bounce, on a dime. And I think we did a pretty good job just trying to make things tough for him. So I think you're still going to need a little bit more from Book. KD, 27 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists, a steal and 2 blocks. That defensively was really good. I thought that he did a good job of finding guys for open shots, but he's going to need to be much more aggressive than 15 shots. And I thought Kawhi, when he was guarding him, he's showing his defensive chops a little bit. Look to see that going forward in fourth quarters. Kawhi guarding KD because, man, it's dope to see those guys facing off in a playoff series and they're both this good. But the battle number 1 goes to Kawhi Leonard. He did a pretty good job defensively when he did guard KD for those few possessions. As far as the Clippers bench, 9 deep. Bones Highland played the least, 13 minutes. Thought he was really solid, though, overall. He didn't shoot well. He was 1 for 6, but, he was decent. He showed that he's not just going to get played off the floor like that. And the fact that he was 1 for 6 and 1 for 3 from deep tells me that he's going to shoot better in one of the upcoming games, whether it's next game or the game after. I think we're going to have at least one Bones explosion game. Only 3 points for Bones. Looks like he had a bad game, but I actually thought he was decent because defensively he held his own, and he was a plus 13 in the game. Mason Plumlee, 18 minutes played. Thought he was really good in his minutes. First game for Plumlee, solid. Didn't get abused much defensively like that. And part of it's because the Suns don't really have quick guards and they don't have much athleticism. It feels like the Clippers between Russ, Terrence Mann, Norman Powell are the more athletic team, which is crazy to think about because that's been our weakness. So when people say that the Clippers are a good matchup for Phoenix, those are the kind of things that they're talking about. So Mason Plumlee, 7 points, 11 rebounds, 2 assists on 3 for 3 shooting. He was awesome in 18 minutes. Terrence Mann, 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists on 3 for 6 shooting. 0 for 3 from 3. I already said that. And then Norman Powell, I already said 14 points on 5 for 10 shooting. As for the starters, Nicholas Batum only played 21 minutes, 3 points, 1 for 3 from deep. I thought he was good defensively when he was in. Obviously, as I always say, one of the best shot contesters as I've seen as a Clipper. And he did okay in his job. He played defense. That's what you want from Nico. I was getting nervous with Russ in the game at the end. I thought Nico should have maybe come back in, but Ty Lue knew what he was doing tonight. Zubats, 12 points, 15 rebounds. Thought he was awesome. Just as good as Ayton, really. I thought he deterred more shots at the rim than Ayton. And overall, solid performance by him. 30 minutes of play, 5 for 8 from the field. Zoo's been fantastic all year. As I always say, give him the ball more. And then Eric Gordon, 19 points, 7 for 14 from the field. So 50%, 3 for 7 from deep, and 2 for 2 from the line. EJ gave you just about everything you could ask for in this game. Played good defense, guarded the best players in the world, 2 of the best with Booker and Kevin Durant. Made a big 3. And by the way, this is a huge deal for EJ. This is his first playoff game as a Clipper. This is his second time here, but it's his first playoff game as a Clipper. So Let me see some clapping emojis in the chat for EJ, please. And then the two main men, Kawhi Leonard. I mean, he found a way to close this game. He made big plays. It was a quieter defensive game for him, but he led the way offensively. He was the best player on the court. And so far, as I said, he's the best player on the court. Clippers going to have a great chance of winning. And he was for game one. 38 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal and a block on 13 for 24 shooting, 3 for 5 from deep, 9 for 10 from the line. The degree of difficulty in his shots, I want to say on a trillion, but they're not that tough for him. 42 minutes played, which was more than any player on the Clippers. Devin Booker played 43 minutes, by the way, and Kevin Durant played 45. Kevin Durant played 45 minutes, and they still lost. I mean, come on, man. Kawhi was the player of the game for me because at the end of the day, as great as Russ was, he still had bad moments. Kawhi really didn't have any bad moments. He was insane. Playoff Kawhi's back, y'all. Phoenix, you guys, you dodged a bullet in 2021. You dodged a fucking bullet. And Russell Goatbrook, 9 points, 11 rebounds, 5 of those being offensive rebounds, 8 assists. And that doesn't, one stat that is not a thing is how many times you go for a rebound and you either draw a loose ball foul or the ball goes out of bounds off somebody because they couldn't grab the ball since you were also going for it. That is what you don't get anything in the stat sheet for. I love that. You got to watch the games, and Russ makes those kind of plays. And, I mean, come on. 9 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, and 3 blocks for Russ. Only 2 turnovers. So to keep those low was huge. 3 for 19 from the field, 1 for 6 from deep, 2 for 3 from the line. And I'm going to address a comment. Russ was 3 for 19. I don't give a fuck because he played defense. Y'all people love efficiency so much. This is why I say I don't give a shit. I really don't care. You know what stat I care about? The win. And you're telling me we win with that game without Russ? Okay, fine. I don't believe you. Because then who's guarding KD besides Nico and Eric? Terrence and, are we having Kawhi guard him more? Getting exhausted? Are we having I don't know if Terrence Mann would do as good of a job. Russ knows KD. So, the amount of shots that KD wasn't taking, that matters too. So I don't care about efficiency. Obviously, yes, you'd want him to be more efficient. It's mainly the shots that he was taking, not the shots that he was missing. Some shots he just shouldn't be taking, but the efficiency stuff, when you're doing that many other things, I could care less about that. If you lose the game, it's different. But he had to win a game, you have to make certain plays if you're on the court. You have to make certain plays. He won us the game at the end. So say what you want. 1-0. The team with Russell Westbrook won. KD, sit down, Sonny, for now. But he's going to come back strong. I mean, I'd be shocked if the Clippers won game 2. The Suns are going to come out. They may kick our ass. But I hope that's my hope is that we don't get our ass kicked. Because if we get our ass kicked, that's great confidence for the Suns. And, this is the main thing. Overall takeaway. Huge win. Now the ball's in the Clippers' court in terms of home court advantage. We did what we needed to. And, we have a great chance to win this series because their bench is terrible. And they're new. They're not battle-tested together. It's exactly what I said in my video. They didn't know it. They haven't been in these kind of situations much. 8 games. KD. And by the way, KD, I've been saying this, that KD is amazing. He's a beast, one of the best to ever do it, but he's not as good as some people really think he is because he's not assertive enough. That's my problem with him. He doesn't grab the game by the scruff of the neck. He just lets it come to him, plays in the flow, just hoops. No, man. No. But he's not on my team. I got Kawhi, and sometimes he knows how to take over games. And I know KD's one of the best playoff performers ever, but Kawhi Leonard is as well. So 8-0 with KD. Make that 8-1. And by the way, for all those people on my locked on comments and all the comments saying Suns in 5 now, you still going with that? Suns in 5, Suns in 5, Suns in 5. Say it with me. Hell no. Clips in 6, Clips in 6, Clips in 6. Come on, everybody. Let me get some Clips in 6 in the chat. But a huge win. We'll take that, baby. And now, before we go to the Laker game, I'm going to skim through some games because there was some just not much to say. Let's start with Denver against the Timberwolves. I thought the Nuggets came out and gave the exact type of performance that shows we're here. We are about to kick your ass, and we're the number one seed for a reason. And they were the only Western Conference team that came out and smacked the shit out of somebody. Jokic was a beast. He was creating a ton of good shots for everybody. I thought that Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. started out a little slow shooting the ball, but they started to get going. Thought Bruce Brown played really well. And the Timberwolves, Ants, I don't know. Is he have a shoulder problem? Anthony Edwards he's just settling way too much. Towns was awful. Just playing dumb basketball per usual. Gobert had some decent defensive moments, but geez. It was just a bad game all the way around for Minnesota. Gobert, 8 points, 13 boards, 3 of 5 shooting, but I don't know. I don't know what to say there. Towns was 5 for 15, 11 points, 10 boards. He was pretty bad. Anthony Edwards was 6 for 15 from the field, 18 points. The Nuggets won 109-80. They were up only 3 after the first quarter. That was the only quarter where it looked like the Wolves were in the game. Nuggets outscored them by 8, 29-21 in the second. And in the third quarter, they blew the doors open, 32-14. Jamal Murray really started getting going in the second half. As far as Bruce Brown, I mentioned him earlier. He played 25 minutes. He had 14 points on 5 for 8 shooting and also 2 for 4 from deep. So really good game for Bruce Brown. DeAndre Jordan was actually getting regular rotation minutes in this game. By the way, Reggie Jackson did play 4 minutes for the Nuggets, but they were all in garbage time. DeAndre played 6 minutes. So funny. He's actually getting real minutes in an NBA game. I don't know how effective that's going to be going forward. But by the way, my boy Ernie in the chat, Clips in 6, he says, right now wearing the Jamal Crawford Ernie shirt. If you want to go get that one. And, oh my God, hold on one second. And this shirt, a shirt with my face on it that Ernie made, thankfully. This doesn't fit me, so if you want it, DM me. See if we can find a nice price for you. But, boom. The dime shirt. The dime shirt. Available on laclipset.com. Designed in Los Angeles, people. Designed in Los Angeles. You already know how it is. I'm going to put the link to his website right here, or the actual website. There you go. Anyways, let's get back to it. The Nuggets, the starters. By the way, last bench player I wanted to talk about real quick, Christian Brown. Really good defender, man, from Kansas last year. He's a good defender, especially for a white dude. Starting lineup. Caldwell Pope, really solid game. He's obviously had such a great season, KCP. 15 points on 6 for 11 shooting and 3 for 6 from deep. Aaron Gordon, solid game, both ends of the floor, 13 and 5. That's 5 rebounds, of course, 3 for 7 from the field and 2 for 4 from deep. Michael Porter Jr., 18 and 11, 11 rebounds, 7 for 17 from the field, but 4 for 9 from 3. And then Jamal Murray was the leading scorer for the Nuggets, 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Only 1 turnover, 9 for 22 from the field, 4 for 10 from deep. He brought it. And then Jokic, 13 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 for 12 from the field. And you know what's funny is those numbers will probably hurt his series stats, but it doesn't matter because he only had to play 28 minutes and they won by 29. He was absolutely dominant, creating all sorts of shots. So step 1 in the journey for the Nuggets to potentially win their first ever championship is complete. 1 down, 15 to go. My man Zach May says, what's up, man? Murray balled out second half. Shout out to my boy Zach. Oh, man. His brother was giving me the business this weekend in the game I coached. Tried to throw the kitchen sink at him, but it's very tough. It's very tough. I forgot to talk to you about something else as well, so remind me to message you after the game. After I'm done being live, I'm sorry. But so step 1 for the Nuggets, good to go. Let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. I thought that was an interesting game yesterday. By the way, again, check out my previews. I talked in depth about some of the games. I'm sorry. I talked in depth about every series, And Caleb from Brooklyn Netcast and Chris from Hoop Spaces came on and they talked to me. And Caleb said that they were going to double Embiid on base, like they're going to swarm him a lot with Claxton as the help defender, not just with Claxton as primary defender. And so what the Nets were doing was they were switching 1 through 5. They had a starting lineup of everybody 6'5" or over. You had Dinwiddie, Finney Smith, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, and Claxton. You're going to switch everything and then double Embiid on every touch. Now, JJ, there's a lot of people in this live right now, so I'm not going to give my nickname, but JJ loves to say, like, he just loves to try to, I don't know, make it seem like the past were Stone Age playbooks and shit. And Dwight, I remember one time I was listening to him talk to Elton Brand, and he said that Dwight Howard used to get hard doubles and Joel Embiid doesn't get, he gets doubled in more creative ways. But when Embiid catches the ball that deep and Embiid has become this much of a scorer, now they're not wasting any time. You don't even want him doing anything because that's the type of fear that certain guys put into you. The reason why Dwight Howard was getting hard doubled is because Dwight Howard was catching the ball right on the block. So one shoulder into you and he was at the rim. Embiid, he catches the ball high so teams can shade and load up. So that creative ways is just because Embiid plays like a guard sometimes. But in this game, they were doubling, and Embiid was making the right play. He was finding guys, and James Harden, he started out really slowly, getting blocked at the rim. Like the first 4 times he went to the basket, it seemed like he got blocked. And everybody was like, some people are so reactionary in terms of like in the middle of a game. Like they'll start talking about a guy's performance as if the game doesn't have 2 or 3 more quarters left. James Harden, he still was playmaking really well. And as the end of the first half, as the end of the first half was coming up, he started hitting those step back threes. He hit like 3 or 4 of them at the end in the second quarter. That's his signature, going to his right, stepping back. And as far as the Nets side, they were staying within like 9 points the whole game until the fourth quarter. They were right in that single-digit range. And the reason mainly, Mikal Bridges. My God, he was putting on a clinic in the in-between game, especially in the first half. It was just ridiculous. Getting to his left, hitting the mid-range, even going to his right, hitting floaters, hit a one-legged like fade in the corner. Like he was, it's incredible what he's been doing since becoming a Net. And he is absolutely poised for a an all-star appearance next year. But the Sixers started throwing 2 at him on screens. And, Embiid was hedging. I'm sorry, not hedging the screens. He was dropping on the screens. I think Embiid's done a good job and drop covered all year. It's just a matter of what kind of point of attack defense the Sixers are bringing. They started Maxey in this game, not Melton. So it was Maxey, Harden, Tobias, PJ Tucker, and Embiid. Obviously, PJ Tucker has had a lot of criticism this season of, not being an offensive threat. But he was able to get offensive rebounds, make hustle plays, take a couple of charges. He was 2 for 5 from deep in this game. So you'll take that all day, 6.7 rebounds, 5 steals. So in the playoffs, PJ Tucker, he's a guy that has helped every team he's been on. And, whether it be Houston, Milwaukee, Miami last year, he's just a gritty guy. You wanted to make that corner 3. If you can make 40% of them, you'll take that all day long. And James Harden, Tobias Harris, Maxey, like all these guys were doing a great job making the extra pass, swinging the ball. And the Sixers were just really hot from deep. It was actually a franchise record in threes that they made. And like as much as the Nets were trying, it was just a difference in quality. The Sixers were up 5 after 1, and then they were up 9 at halftime, then 12 after 3, and then they just slowly kind of cruised away. And Embiid, this is how great Embiid is. He was getting doubled every single time he touched the ball, and he still found a way to score 26 points. So, like, whether it be in transition or a situation where they're not doubling fast enough, trying to go away from it, he was doing a good job of trying to make sure his shots get up there. He gets his shots up there, I should say. 7 for 15 from the field. He also still got to the line 11 times. And he made all of his free throws. So Embiid, at his size to shoot that well from the line is just an amazing luxury and just an amazing skill of his. 26 points for Embiid in his first game of this year's playoffs. Fantastic. 7 for 15 from the field. They did not have a repeat of what happened 4 years ago against the Nets in game 1. So for the third straight year, the Sixers win the first game at home. They set a franchise record for threes in a playoff game for themselves. Yeah, franchise record. I already said that. I'm making some brain fart statements tonight, but man, when you talk for an hour straight, I mean, that happens. But Sixers win by 20, 121 to 101, taking care of business, looking like a championship contender. Absolutely. But it's so early, and they're playing against the Nets, who were slightly under 500 since they made the trade. So they're not going to be tested in this series. Their true test is going to come against the Celtics, of course. Somebody else who I thought had a pretty solid game was Tobias Harris. I thought that he competed hard on both ends of the floor. He was hitting his mid-range. He was 3 for 3 from deep, and he was doing a good job just hitting shots. Jalen McDaniels as well. Good defense, 2 for 2 from the field, fighting over screens well. George Niang, 2 for 4 from 3, and somebody who was fantastic. I'm so happy I didn't forget about him. Paul Reed. When he came in for Embiid, they would switch everything, and they did a good job, man. Paul Reed also was finishing on the roll, and I remember the crowd chanting, "We love Paul. We love Paul." So he made a big impact, and he's keeping Montrezl Harrell on the bench for them. So step one, the Sixers take care of business. Spencer Dinwiddie, 14 points on 5 for 12 shooting, 1 for 5 from deep, though. Mikal Bridges, 30 points, 5 rebounds, only 2 shot attempts, though, in the second half. I think the Sixers did a much better job of trapping and blitzing him on screen and roll. But at the same time, if you're Mikal Bridges, you got to get more shots up than 2. You're a star now. That's what you should think. You got to get more shots up than 2. You may have to force it a little bit. Cam Johnson had a good shooting night, 7 for 11 for the field for him, 18 points. The Nets actually shot 56% and 45% from 3, which is the craziest part, and they still lost. But that's because they turned the ball over 19 times, and the Sixers did such an amazing job of taking advantage of those. They also out-rebounded them 14-5 on the offensive glass. So the Sixers just showed their size, their tenacity. I thought they came out with the right attitude, right mentality. James Harden, I thought, was so solid. And you know me, I'm not a James Harden guy. 23 points and 13 dimes on 8 for 21 shooting, but an amazing 7 for 13 from 3. So he was sharp. Step one, complete for Embiid and Jokic. Embiid and Jokic, but Embiid and Harden on their championship quest. And then the Celtics against the Hawks. This was absolute, utter domination. I mean, Hawks fan TV, bless his heart, trying to be optimistic and rolling with his Hawks in 7, but Jaylen Brown, I knew what kind of time he was on. When he came out on the first play, got a steal, spun and finished at the rim. He and Jason Tatum set the tone right from the get-go. Tatum got to the basket a couple times and hit this couple of threes in the first half. And Derek White started in this one alongside Marcus Smart, the Jays, and Al Horford. And the Celtics, it took them a couple of minutes, but they slowly started to create separation, and Trae Young was just having a tough time. The Hawks trailed by 10 after 1. Derek White, just like Kiana in the preview predicted, said that Derek White would be guarding him, not Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart was actually guarding DeAndre Hunter. DeJounte Murray was being guarded by, I believe, if I recall correctly, Jaylen Brown. And the Celtics showed why they're a championship favorite. In my opinion, of all the teams that played in the game ones, the Celtics were the most impressive because they just have so many good players, so many good defensive players. They have rim protection. They have guards that can defend. They have wings. I mean, this is exactly why I have had them to win the championship all year. And Milwaukee, given this, and I'm going to talk to them about them later, given their injury with Giannis tonight and Chris Middleton's health that's looked shaky, albeit he had a great game tonight, the Celtics just look more complete to me. It's just a matter of if they can make, especially Jason Tatum, make those big plays in the highest levels in the finals and all that. When they, the deeper they go, they're going to be tested in the next round against Philly. That's going to be an interesting series for sure. But I still think they'll win that. But the Celtics, I mean, when they start hitting threes like that, it's finished. I mean, when they start hitting threes, along with the defense they play and the amount of talent they have, then you're going to have a tough time. Their bench players didn't hit any threes. They were 0 for 5 combined. But the starters, 13 for 28 from deep. They shot 39% as a team from there, 48 from the field. And their defense was just amazing on Trae Young. I thought, Al Horford's going to be in that drop coverage. And the guards do such a good job getting over screens, whether it be Marcus Smart or Derek White. I could see what Kiana was talking about with the Derek White defensive first team stuff, because he was just doing an amazing job fighting over screens, getting his hands active. And I mean, I've never seen this Derek White. This is crazy, the defensive confidence he's playing with, blocking shots. Like, he thinks he's a stopper now. Maybe he is. And Marcus Smart, by the way, looked every bit of that defensive player of the year Marcus Smart that we're accustomed to seeing. He was blocking shots, causing turnovers, taking hits to the chest and contesting, just an overall comprehensive performance by Boston, hitting threes, moving the ball well. And then, you got guys like Malcolm Brogdon coming off the bench. He was 1 for 6 in the game, which is crazy. That was a baseline shot he made, but he still makes plays. I don't know what it is about him. He's just a smart player. And the Time Lord, I thought he gave them some really great minutes too. 12 points and 8 rebounds, a steal and a block, and he was a perfect 6 for 6 from the field in 22 minutes. But the starters were just awesome. Al Horford, 6 points, 9 rebounds on 2 for 4 shooting. All his shots were threes, and he made them. He still looks amazing, Al Horford. He's such a high IQ player. And I'm telling you this right now, maybe a hot take, but if Al Horford and the Celtics win a championship, he might be a Hall of Fame candidate because he won 2 championships with Florida. And, it's the Basketball Hall of Fame, not just the NBA Hall of Fame. And he was a great Hawk. He's won wherever he's gone. And if he's a key part of a championship team, even playing this well at that age, I just think there's a case. But Derek White, 24 points. Yeah, I forgot to mention how great he was offensively too. 24 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 blocks. He's just phenomenal in all facets. 7 for 13 from the field, 4 for 7 from deep, 6 for 7 from the line. Just giving you everything. Marcus Smart, while his shooting wasn't great, 4 for 11 from the field, but he was 2 for 4 from deep. He had 11 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. So all around, really good defensive performance by Marcus. And then the Jays. Jason Tatum, 25 points and 11 rebounds on 10 for 23 shooting and 3 for 7 from deep in 40 minutes. I thought, the Hawks actually made a little fake run at the end. I want to give Bogdan Bogdanovic a shout out. Made a little fake run, but DeJounte Murray was the only player on the Hawks that scored over 20 points. He had 24, but he was also just missing a ton as well. He shot 10 for 25, so 40%. And 17% from deep for Atlanta, 5 for 29. Clint Capella, it said he had 12 points and 8 rebounds. He had such a quiet game to me on both ends of the floor. Trae Young was just awful. 16 points, 8 assists, 5 for 18 from the field, 5 turnovers. So looked exactly like Miami, but it was a slightly different strategy. He was just, because the Heat played differently against them last year. They would switch everything and then load up. The Celtics were playing drop coverage and just doing a really great job fighting over screens and just getting in his rear view. He's going to have a better game in game 2. I can assure you of that. But he played amazing against Miami. Didn't play in the play-in game, but didn't play well against Boston in the first game. And they're going to need a great Trae Young for 4 games to win the series. And they're not going to win the series. They'll be lucky to win a game. The Celtics are just too good. They're just too good. And the Hawks in this game, you could kind of see their defense not that great, even though they only allowed 38 points in the second half. But the only reason that happened was because the Celtics just completely took their foot off the gas, and then they had to bring the starters back in because, as I said, the Hawks made a little fake run, led by Bogdan Bogdanovic, who had 9 points, but he was 3 for 10. It's a game you got to just forget about if you're Atlanta. But Jason Tatum, as I said, 25 and 11, and my player of the game was Jaylen Brown. So aggressive. 29 points, 12 rebounds. And the one thing I'm watching with JB in this playoffs is everybody was making jokes last year that he couldn't dribble. Like, obviously exaggerating, but he was losing his handle a lot and, wasn't able to create all that much separation as we got further and further into the playoffs. And that being said, he still had the best series of any Celtic in the finals, but he looked sharp with his handle in this game, getting into his pull-up mid-range, getting to the basket. Thought the Celtics were doing a good job attacking closeouts. Just overall great performance. They win it 112-99 and complete the first objective of their championship quest. Now, I've been making you guys wait long enough. We got to talk about the Lakers. But before we do that, I got to get a drink of water because I'm thirsty as shit. So please don't go anywhere. I'll be back in literally like 45 seconds. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Because I'm thirsty as shit. So please don't go anywhere. I'll be back in literally. Hold on 1 second. Just wait long enough. We got to talk about the Lakers. But before we do that. All right. I'm about to go get my water, and then we're going to talk about these Lakers. All right. Don't go anywhere. If you leave, I'll be really mad. There's 79 people in the chat. Like the video right now. I better be still 79 people or more when I come back. I'll be right back. All right, hold your horses, fellas. Let's see if you guys listen to directions. Let's see if there's still 79 people in here. Ow, 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 ow. My mic. It's shaking too much. 84. Wow, you guys are the greatest, aren't you? Oh, my green screen moved away. Thank God. Let's go. Let's go, Spencer. Oh, Battle of LA coming soon. Okay. What the hell happened there? Let's fix this. Ow. Okay. There we go. Cool. All right. Ready? Let's do this. Before that, never mind. We're going to talk about the Lakers now. So the Lakers going into Memphis. I mean, it's a weird series because the Lakers are being picked by, it seems like most people, obviously my subscribers, but most people because the Grizzlies don't have Steven Adams or Brandon Clark. And DB is going to be guarding LeBron. Xavier Tillman and Jaren Jackson were both taking their swings at AD. A lot of times Xavier Tillman was guarding him, and you'd have Jaren Jackson sagging off of Vando. And I thought Vando did a pretty good job of, being in that dunker spot, being available for those passes underneath the rim to get easy baskets. And the Lakers, they started out well in the first quarter, and it was immediately the presence of Anthony Davis. He had his fingerprints all over this game. It's going to be really fascinating to watch the battle between AD and Jaren Jackson Jr. throughout this series. Just two of the best defenders we have in the league right now. And AD, this is why I don't think this is a good matchup for Memphis. Because Ja Morant, yeah, he still had some decent moments today in the in-between game, knocking down a mid-range or two, floaters. He even hit, I think, 1-3 in the game. Let's see. 2 for 3 from deep. So, yeah, I mean, he shot really well, 8 for 14. But overall, I mean, most of Ja Morant's buckets are attacking the paint. And with AD dropping and, in drop coverage sitting down there, he's the best in the league at playing two guys at once and just making you think about either throwing the lob or going up strong. And he can just basically take away both. He was amazing to start this game. I think he had 3 blocks in the first quarter, 8 points, was being aggressive. And the Lakers led by 5 after 1. LeBron, a little quieter to start the game. D'Lo was cold to start the game, but you brought in some reinforcements off the bench. Rui Hachimura was hitting some shots, and Austin Reeves also got off to a good start. The Grizzlies, however, though, in the second quarter made their push. Ja Morant was starting to hit in the pick and roll. Jaren Jackson, I thought, was really aggressive. He scored 3 times posting up LeBron, babying him. And this is the thing about Jaren Jackson. He's got jump hooks with both hands. So that's what makes it that much more frustrating to me when he doesn't actually try to post dudes up. He was having success on basically everybody but AD in this game. So that lets me know that he can be a go-to guy going forward. Jaren Jackson should be an all-star for many, many years to come. And he should be able to grow into that second scorer for Ja. And at times maybe create easier baskets. But the guy that I thought was, contained pretty nicely was Desmond Bane. He was the guy that honestly had the best series of any Grizzly against the Wolves last year. And Austin Reeves was guarding him. Jared Vanderbilt was guarding Ja Morant. I thought Jared Vanderbilt was trying his best, but Ja Morant, I think Jared Vanderbilt is an amazing help defender, and he's really good in the passing lanes. I think point of attack, he's good as well. But against smaller guards, I think Jaws is hard, Jaws is hard to, fight over screens and stay attached to. He has such an amazing explosiveness coming off those screens and attacking the basket. This is factually incorrect. One of the comments says he had 10 points. It's factually incorrect. He actually had 18 points. He was 8 for 14. The Grizzlies were outscored the Lakers 38-27 in the second quarter. They were going with Luke Kennard, the nuke, Terrence, what the hell is it? Tyus Jones. My God, I don't know why I was on such a brain fart there. Tyus Jones and Santi Aldama were the only guys really playing real minutes off the bench. Roddy came in for 9 minutes. And, I mean, he was a +7 in his minutes, big body to play some defense, but overall was the starters playing the majority. And the Grizzlies went into the half up I think it was 65-59. Yeah, 65-59. I thought LeBron in the first half he wasn't good one-on-one defending, but I thought that you could see that his help defense was better and he was being active in the passing lanes, and he got several blocks, a couple of chase down blocks, and he continued that part throughout the game. So one thing I kind of liked though about LeBron was like he was letting D'Lo, Austin Reeves play make. And I think I've always been an advocate of less is more when you have other talented guys on the team. And I think that's also been one of my criticisms with LeBron sometimes. I think sometimes he can underestimate his teammates' ability to create. And that's been throughout his career, I'm saying. Like, he doesn't have to do so much, but I think he wants to do a lot. But now he's a little bit older, conserves a little bit, is better, especially if it means he plays better defense. And I also think, LeBron can find points on, like, for example, the D'Lo AD high pick and roll. Sometimes they fall asleep, and LeBron is shown to cut when they do fall asleep. And again, I always say when LeBron's moving without the ball, it makes him a much better player. And he's, been better about that the last 2 years. I've said multiple times on the show. And if he continues to do that, especially when AD and D'Lo, all eyes are on them in the pick and roll, when he cuts on the weak side or even on the strong side, I think honestly strong side is probably easier for D'Lo to find him. When AD's going right, let's say, and LeBron will be cutting left. D'Lo, by the way, started turning up in the second half, and it took a little while. And obviously, D'Lo, he hasn't had a good playoff series in his career to me yet. Look back at his series stats against the Sixers and against the who was it that they played? The Grizzlies last year. Didn't have a good series. But in this game, he started to hit shots in the pick and roll. He started to hit his threes. He had this really nice pull-up where he pump faked. I forget who was guarding him. He got him in the air, hit the jumper. And as far as the Grizzlies, they still shot 36% from three. But like Dylan Brooks, 2 for 9. Desmond Bane, 3 for 10. So, Santi Aldama shot 2 of 3. John Morant shot 2 of 3. But those guys aren't really going to shoot much. Jaren Jackson, 2 for 4. The guys that are shooting a lot of threes, the Dylan Brooks, Desmond Banes, they were broke. And the Lakers outscored the Grizzlies 37-25 in the third. Anthony Davis continued to be really good. And it's not just really his scoring. I thought that he actually wasn't insanely aggressive in this game. You might need him to be a little bit more aggressive, but his rim protection, his defense is just unbelievable. I mean, we've become so accustomed to it here in Los Angeles, but sometimes I feel like AD's defense needs more attention on a national level. It's just amazing what he does and the way he affects the game. I mean, in this game, you can argue who was the player of the game, but so far, everybody that wants AD to take the reins from LeBron as the man of this team, game one looks like AD was better than LeBron. And that's not to take away from LeBron, who I think started playing better in the second half. He was like 0 for 5 from 3. Then he started making some, including one deep one to put the Lakers up 94-88. And then as the game was starting to get pretty close, I think it was 103-102. That's when we had the John Morant injury scare. And by the way, we had an Anthony Davis injury scare. He said right before the second quarter ended, he took a little shot to the shoulder. He said that he couldn't feel his arm. So I was scared that, oh my God, maybe Anthony Davis is going to be injured again and whatnot. But he ended up coming back and was fine. So thankfully there. But John Morant goes up to the body of Anthony Davis, falls on the ground. He went up so high, falls on the ground and braces his fall. And man, I've never got up that high in my life, but I've had, obviously, everybody has played on the playgrounds or whatnot, has braced their falls before with their wrist. And that one was how high he was in the air. That did not look good, man. And he had like wrapping around his arm. I don't know what happened. I don't know what the injury was listed as, but apparently he said after the game the pain level was a 10 out of 10. So that makes me a little bit nervous if you're the Grizzlies or a Grizzlies fan, which obviously we fucking hate the teddy bears on this platform. But I mean, you want to still see a good series. I know Laker fans don't care, but I want to still see a good series. So I hope he's okay. But I think actually the game really turned against Memphis when he came out. I think it looked like Jaren Jackson Jr. was going to potentially try to pull off a carry job. And look, I think it was one of the best games I've seen Jaren Jackson play. I mean, for him to stay aggressive so much offensively like that was something I hadn't seen much before from him. But the Lakers did a good job closing it out on a 15-0 run. It was 113 to 112. Sorry, not 103 to 102. It was 113 to 112. Rui Hachimura was amazing in his playoff debut as a Laker. He hit big shot after big shot. They kept leaving him open for three. At some point when he's making that many threes, you got to just let someone else shoot the three and don't have to make the extra rotation. 11 for 14 from the field. He had an offensive rebound and putback too. He had buckets in the fourth quarter. He was actually the Lakers' leading scorer in this game. 29 points on an insane 11 for 14 shooting and 5 for 6 from 3 in 30 minutes. You want to talk about efficiency? That was insane. Will that be his best game of the series? I would assume so. That's insane. But who knows? I mean, as long as you get a consistent 14, 15 points efficiently, gets to play some solid defense, uses size to, just be annoying to guard, that's all you need. But the guy I really need to talk about, man, I talked about AD, talk about LeBron making some plays, but LeBron was able to watch somebody else dominate in the pick and roll at the end of the game. And that was Stone Cold Austin Reeves, Hillbilly Kobe, AR-15. What a performance from him in his playoff debut. He just seems like the kind of guy who's made for this moment, who won't get fazed by shit like this. And he was cooking in that drop coverage. Mid-range, snaking it, weaving it, finding guys for open shots, threes just coming right off the screen. It was an amazing performance by Austin Reeves to close that game. And the Lakers, they were just kind of rubbing it in at the end, just bucket after bucket, steal after steal, and they win it 128 to 112 in Memphis, stealing home court advantage. Of course, the Grizzlies and the Clippers, the only two teams now in the Western Conference, the Lakers, have not played in a best of 7. This obviously is their first time playing Memphis, and in a hostile environment, they came out and got the win. Again, I think Memphis just they don't have the bodies in this series to handle the Lakers. Brandon Clark is a massive loss. Steven Adams is a massive loss. And now if they're down John Morant, I think at times the Grizzlies can play smarter basketball, better team basketball without Ja. But we'll see. I don't know about it in this series. Let's read the lines, though. 128 to 112, Lakers win it. They outscore the Grizz 69 to 47 in the second half. For Memphis, Santi Aldama came off the bench and gave them 8 points and 6 boards. Thought he did a good job rebounding, but he was a minus 23. Don't think that really indicates how he played. I thought he was actually okay. But here's the thing, though. I'm looking at the game from a Lakers fan perspective, so I'm not seeing analyzing every defensive play for the Memphis side. So LA channel, sorry. Luke Kennard, 7 points in 26 minutes of play on 2 for 5 shooting, 1 for 4 from deep. I think the Lakers did a much better job of limiting his open shots in the second half. And then Tyus Jones, 9 points on 4 for 7 shooting in 25 minutes. I don't know why I felt like he was more quiet than usual. But if John Morant doesn't play the next game, you're going to see a lot more of Tyus Jones. Then the starters for them, Xavier Tillman in 22 minutes. Didn't do much. 2 points, 3 rebounds, 1 for 4. Desmond Bane, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. 6 for 18 from the field and 3 for 10 from deep. So you got to credit Austin Reeves there. He was chasing him over screens all night long and got a couple of blocks too. Desmond Bane, not a good shooting night. I guarantee you he will bounce back in game 2. A must-win game for Memphis that I think they'll get. But if Ja doesn't play, just like the Clippers, man, why not go in there and get 2 on the road? Why not? That totally demoralizes the team and can pretty much end the series. Unless you're the 2021 Clippers, who came back from 2-0 down against Dallas. But Dylan Brooks, 15 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I think that he wasn't that great. Defensively, he didn't really slow down anyone too much. And then 2 for 9 from deep. Jaren Jackson was awesome, though. Best Grizzly for sure. 31 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, a steal and 2 blocks, 13 for 21 from the field and 2 for 4 from deep. He also was 3 for 3 from the line. Ja Morant, 6 turnovers, though. A lot of jump passing, getting careless with the ball. He had half his team's turnovers. So if he does play, he needs to be much smarter with the ball. I think AD, though, just makes you think when he's going up like that. Because usually when Ja Morant will go up at the rim, he's not really thinking about passing. He'll try to go dunk on you. But AD, he's going to make you make other plays, make you make business decisions. 18 points, 6 rebounds for Ja, 8 for 14 from the field, and 2 for 3 from deep. It was unfortunate they had to come out of the game, and I hope he's okay. But the Lakers win it, 128-112. Both LA teams getting a win. LA, how we feeling, man? Tell me in the comments. And the Kings play tomorrow against Edmonton. I'm going to be live tomorrow, obviously, because we're going live after every single game of the playoffs. Obviously, I'm not a hockey analyst, but I'll probably give my exact reaction, a little bit of a reaction to the Kings, and then we'll go on to the other 2 games, Golden State, Sacramento, and then Philly versus Brooklyn. But the Lakers get the win. Clippers get the win. Both teams stealing game 1 on the road. I think the Lakers, man, got a good shot of just winning this series in 6 games. If Ja Morant doesn't come back, maybe even 5 games. Where should I go next? So we got, 3 games left? Please tell me it's only 3 games and not 4. Okay, thank God. Let's go with Miami and Milwaukee. So obviously I was expecting the Bucks to beat the shit out of the Heat. But the Heat, man, they played the perfect game. They played the perfect game. Everybody was hitting threes. Jimmy was incredible from the tip-off to the end. He was aggressive. And here's the thing, man. Drew Holiday is one of the best defenders I've ever seen. And this was one of the first times I've ever seen Drew Holiday not slow someone down like that at all. Jimmy Butler, whether it be, getting somebody else on him or even Drew on him, was turning the corner on those screens, knocking down his mid-range, getting to the bucket, getting to the line. And one thing I really like about Jimmy Butler lately, the last 2 years, is that he has found a way to score in so many different ways off the ball. He has become such a great off-ball player, reading screens, backdoor cuts, just finding ways to score the gritty points, the chippy points, the points that are not just that you have to go earn. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Points that you have to go earn, but are not just handed to you. You got to just have good anticipation. Just find ways to score, even not against half-court defenses or having somebody create the shot for you. And Jimmy Butler cutting without the ball, rebounding, doing these things. He finds a way. The Heat were up 9 after 1. I thought that the Heat strategy was pretty good defensively, just loading up on Giannis, making other guys beat you. And the Bucks were not hitting threes in the beginning. They were really struggling from 3 all game, while the Heat weren't. The Heat were 15 for 25 from deep in the game, 60%. I heard that was their best 3-point shooting game of the season. The Bucks were 11 for 45 from deep. And one thing that I thought was ridiculous was that Brook Lopez had Max Strus guarding him. The Heat were starting with that same starting lineup with like Max Strus or Jimmy Butler playing the 4. And Brook Lopez, who's a good post player, I know he doesn't post up like that anymore, who is a good post player though, was not being fed the ball at all. He wasn't even trying to post up. That's on 2 different people. Bud for not drawing it up to tell him to do it, and secondly for him to not go demand the ball. He just wants to sit at the 3-point line and space the floor for Giannis and whoever it may be. But, I think one big weakness with the Heat is that they struggled on the glass. So go for offensive rebounds against them. And I think the Bucks, they didn't do enough of that, in my opinion. It was just a lot of long threes and one-and-done possessions. They got 8 offensive rebounds to the Heat's 4, but I think they can still get more given their size. And Brook Lopez wants to stand outside of the 3-point line. That's a bailout for Miami. It's a bailout for Miami, but Jimmy setting the tone. Tyler Hero actually got off to a really good start as well. And the guy that really surprised me more than anyone in this game, Kevin Love. He had a terrible stint in the Hawks playing game, but he was amazing in this game, playing the 5, and he held his own. He was even playing alongside Bam at times, and I think that was a better look because he's a more traditional 4. But that's what's just disappointing about the Milwaukee Bucks in this game is that, they had moments like Kevin Love playing the 5 and whatnot. And they just couldn't score consistently. And Giannis goes into Kevin Love. Kevin Love took he took multiple charges, but he got 2 or 3, drew 2 or 3 offensive fouls. And he was also hitting his 3 ball and rebounding and making some decent, classic Kevin Love outlet passes. But when Giannis hit the floor and he hit his tailbone, they described it as a back contusion, but he hit the floor hard and he went to the locker room. And man, now that puts Milwaukee's postseason hopes and championship hopes in the biggest danger. I mean, we've seen Giannis get hurt during the playoff run that he won the championship. And it just makes you worry, man. It just makes you want him to be back soon and just hope he's okay. I don't know if he'll play the next game, but look, this series is going 6 games now minimum with the Heat winning that game. And if Giannis doesn't play, then the Bucks are in real trouble. I thought that Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday, they were trying. Bobby Portis as well. I thought he was amazing, like virtually automatic, whether it be those push shots in the pick and roll, getting the ball in the post. His right-handed jump hook was awesome. He even hit – oh, no, he didn't hit a 3. I thought he did. But 21 points on 9 for 15 shooting for Bobby. He came in and immediately gave him that energy, taking charges, being physical defensively. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, I think the one bright side for the Bucks is that Chris Middleton was back. He was awesome. He was knocking down all sorts of shots. His contested jumpers that we've become so accustomed to seeing over the years, getting to the basket, getting 2 feet in the paint, even though he's not the quickest guy in the world, and finishing around there. Drew Holiday, on the other hand, while, he's still a good defender and all that, and didn't have the best defensive game against Butler today, he still made a bunch of good plays in the pick and roll, but he was shooting way too many quick threes. My one thing with Drew Holiday is, if only his offensive IQ was as high as his defensive IQ. Yeah, he's much better than Eric Bledsoe, but he takes a lot of silly threes. Every time he got to the basket or got into the paint, he created a good shot for Milwaukee. But instead, he wants to settle for threes, sometimes without even passing the ball, coming up the court. Nah, man, it's not good. But the Heat just continued their onslaught. Tyler Hero, by the way, though, apparently he broke his hand at the end of the first half. It looked bad. He shot a shot in the right corner before halftime, didn't even draw iron, and that showed that, he was clearly hurt. And that sucks. Tyler Hero, obviously so important for this Miami team. The second perimeter, second leading scorer on the squad. Basically the main ball handler this season. And now he's likely out for the rest of the series. So it's going to be tough for Miami to generate a lot of points. I thought in the second half, what brought the Heat home was Bam Adebayo. Also, Max Strus made some big shots, so I don't want to leave him out. Second straight game where he hit some big shots. He was 3 for 5 in the game and 2 for 4 from deep. And also Caleb Martin. Huge contribution from him. 15 points, 5 for 7 from the field, and 2 for 3 from deep. But it was the Jimmy Butler show in this game overall. Milwaukee even tried to go zone at times because what was happening was Brook Lopez is in that deep drop, right? He loves to drop deep. Kevin Love, the angle of putting him in is pick and pop threes. And they were getting those looks. And he was hitting those shots. And Brook Lopez wants to pick and pop as well. He wasn't really hitting the 3 ball in this one. So the Bucks, as I said, a terrible shooting night from 3. The Heat made their shots. Jimmy Butler was amazing, finishing over Lopez. Just big play after big play. And I think what brought them home was Bam Adebayo. He was being left open. They were inviting him to take that mid-range. He was getting those push shots in the pick and roll. Great passes by Jimmy Butler. And he was finishing. He was making his shots. And that, Bam was kind of due for one of those games because he was poor offensively in those 2 playing games. For him to have a good game was huge for Miami. The Bucks, they kept getting it within like 10 or 5, but the Heat just kept pushing it back. So shout out to Miami. They showed great resilience in this game. Looked like a totally different team. And if you're the Bucks, Drew Holiday needs to not settle. You got to just make or miss leads. You got to make your open shots. You also got to crash the offensive glass more and post Brook Lopez up more when you got guys like Max Strus on him. Let's read the lines. The Miami Heat, as the 8th seed, steal game 1, 130-117 in Milwaukee. They now take home court advantage. The big quarter for them, in my opinion, they led by 9 after 1, led 68-55 at halftime, and the Bucks only won the 4th quarter, so the Heat, they led pretty much the whole game. Let's read the lines Zach's the Heat fan says, honestly, felt like we did just as fine without Tyler. Absolutely, but I just don't know. I just don't think you're going to be shooting that well every game. So I don't think the Heat will have the offensive firepower without Hero to win this series. I mean, the Bucks are still a good team without Giannis. But without Giannis against Jimmy Butler, who knows? But if they do get Giannis, I think they'll be fine. Let's read the lines for the Bucks. They played a 10-man rotation. Jay Crowder played the least amount of bench minutes. It was his first playoff game in a minute, and he was just not making shots. 2 points, 0 for 4 from deep, 1 of 5 from the field. 15 minutes were given to Joe Ingles. I honestly think he should have played more because he was actually hitting his 3-ball, 3 for 7 from deep, 9 points. But Jimmy Butler was trying to get, like all game long, the Heat were trying to get different guys guarding Jimmy, and Joe Ingles was one of the guys that Jimmy had his way with. Got to the basket a couple times on him. Wesley Matthews played 18 minutes, 6 points, 2 for 4 from 3. Those were all his shots. Javon Carter, 2 points, 1 for 4 from the field. Not much there. There was one play that was ridiculous. Javon Carter was on a 2-on-1 fast break with Middleton, and he pulls up for 3, and it was a huge play in the game. Massive, I believe, in the fourth quarter. And I was like, if I'm Bud, I'm taking his ass out after that. It's a terrible play. I can't stand when guys in the NBA do that shit. 2-on-1 and chuck up a 3. Bobby Portis was amazing off the bench, 21 points and 8 boards, 9 for 15 from the field, but 0 for 5 from deep. Then the starters. Giannis obviously only played 11 minutes, 6 points and 3 boards. Grayson Allen, 31 minutes played. He had 12 points on 5 for 7 shooting and 2 for 4 from deep. It was pretty efficient, but he didn't really get that many clean looks. And then Brook Lopez, 10 points, 4 rebounds, just not very good. Did not have the defensive game that you expect. He did have 3 blocks, but he got, when he's going to drop deep like that, Kevin Love pick and pop threes. It's a good counter by Spo. 4 for 7 from the field for Brook, 0 for 3 from deep, just 2 for 3 from the line. And then the duo, Drew Holiday, 16 points, 7 rebounds, and 16 assists. So as I said, creating tons of good looks, especially with those pocket passes to Bobby Portis. Just a lot of great shots, but 6 for 18 from the field. And here's the stat, 2 for 9 from deep. That lets you know everything. He was 4 for 9 from 2. But when he shot those threes, a lot of times not even passing the ball, brick. Chris Middleton, though, that's a good sign that he was able to play at that high level that we're accustomed to seeing him play at. 33 points, 9 rebounds, and 4 assists for Middleton. An amazing 60% from the field on 12 for 20 shooting, 2 for 7 from deep, but 7 for 10 from the line. You expect him to make one more of those. And then the Heat. Kyle Lowry, pretty quiet in this one after having an amazing game against Atlanta. 2 points. 1 for 1 from the field in 19 minutes. You even saw Duncan Robinson check in this game because Hero got injured. Played 6 minutes, made 1 3, only shot 2 shots. Caleb Martin, 15 points on 5 for 7 shooting and 2 for 3 from deep. He was amazing. And obviously plays hard on defense too. Kevin Love, 18 points and 8 rebounds. Shout out to my guy All Ball. He was the one saying that Kevin Love still can be a contributing factor. He didn't look good with that take after the play-in game, but he looked really good after that one. 18 and 8 for K-Love, 5 for 9 from the field, 4 for 7 from deep. As for the starters, Max Strus, 8 points and 5 boards. He also held his own defensively when they tried to target him. He was struggling against Atlanta, did much better in this one. 3 for 5 from the field and 2 for 4 from deep. Tyler Hero had 12 points on 5 for 9 shooting and 2 for 4 from deep in the 19 minutes that he played. Gabe Vincent, also with some big shots in this one. 15 points for the UCSB Gaucho, 5 for 6 from the field, and 4 for 5 from deep. And then the duo, Bam Adebayo, or as Kendrick Perkins would say, Bam Adebayo, 22 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals. He did turn the ball over 5 times, which is a third of the Heat's turnovers. So you got to limit that if you're Bam. But 10 for 18 from the field. Only 3 free throw attempts, made 2 of them. But he hit big shots. And if Bam can just continue to hit those mid-ranges, hit those shots around the key, changes a lot for Miami. It really does. The man, though, playoff Jimmy, activated. We saw playoff Kawhi. We saw playoff Jimmy. 35 points, 5 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 steals. I mean, the way the guy has played in the last 2 games after that bad game against Atlanta has been amazing. 43 minutes in the game to lead all players. 15 for 27 from the field. And for everybody that says, you need to have a great 3-ball to be a great scorer in today's NBA. Bullshit. Jimmy Butler shows you exactly why that's horseshit. Okay? 0 for 1 from deep, 5 for 8 from the line, 15 for 27 from the field, getting it done on the offensive end. 35 points, and also not bad defense either with those 3 steals. Heat, huge win. And we got a series now. I just hope Giannis is okay. But now, the final two games, the second and third best series, in my opinion, of this first round, the Cavs and the Knicks, and the Warriors and the Kings. Let's start with the Cavs and the Knicks. Fuck. Ugh. Okay. Oh. Knicks and Cavs. So this series is super interesting. We got Donovan Mitchell playing against the team that wanted him. First Cavs game, first Cavs playoff game without LeBron, and God, I don't even know how long of my lifetime, let's put it that way, or of my time watching hoops. The crowd, honestly, was not as loud as I expected. They got loud at the end, but they weren't as loud as I expected. Same with Philly. Boston's crowd was great. Milwaukee's crowd was really good. Phoenix's crowd was really good. Denver's crowd was pretty good too. Memphis's crowd was awesome. There's obviously a clear winner here, and I'm going to wait for the end with them. But the Cavs. So this was a really interesting game. I thought the Knicks threw the first punch. They came out with way more energy. The only stint of the game where RJ Barrett played well was in the beginning, where you got a couple of steals. You could see what the strategy was of the Knicks. Drop coverage with Mitchell Robinson. With Randall, they would hedge the screen hard. And he was doing a really good job hedging those screens and coming out and putting enough pressure on the ball handler, whether it be Garland or Mitchell, to not just be able to come off for shots, have to move the ball. And the guy that they were letting shoot open shots was Isaac Okoro, and he was not hitting. And, he's their best defender on the wing, but when he's not making shots, he becomes kind of a liability. 6 points on 1 of 6 shooting and 0 for 4 from deep for Okoro, and he only played 23 minutes as a result. Jalen Brunson got 2 fouls in the 9th minute of the second quarter, and he sat out the rest of the first half. But the guy that gave the Knicks the first run, setting the tone, was Julius Randle. That guy came out like he hadn't even missed a day. Coming off the ankle injury, made a couple of jumpers. And that was the one thing against the Hawks 2 years ago. They totally loaded up the whole defense on him, shot a bunch of contested jumpers and made none of them. But now he's got better teammates. He's also got Jalen Brunson. He's also had that experience before. And they're not throwing the same coverages at him, Cleveland. They're going to let him go one-on-one. And he was hitting his jumpers, hitting in transition, taking advantage of Cavs turnovers. And that's one thing the Knicks did better than Cleveland. Took advantage of turnovers and rebounds, looked to push the pace, especially with Josh Hart quickly in the game. That's exactly what Fabian talked about in the preview, that the Cavs, they play a slow pace. Knicks got to look to get out and run when they can. Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland off to a somewhat slow start in the first quarter. Evan Mobley got off to a solid start, though, on both ends of the floor. His defense was really good. He had a couple of nice, this one nice dunk with the left hand early on, and then the behind-the-back pass to Jared Allen on a little big-to-big action. But the Knicks led by 6, 30-24. And the rest of the game was just this very neck-and-neck game where, the Knicks would be up by 10, the Cavs would cut it back down to 5, and so on and so forth. The second quarter was pretty low scoring, only 21-20 in favor of Cleveland. And it was just, as I said, close the whole way. Both teams were playing good defense. And as far as Cleveland is concerned, Donovan Mitchell started to get much more comfortable in the second half, coming off those screens for, threes, mid-ranges, you name it. And Darius Garland as well. He was knocking down shots. It's just that they have to do a lot. And Karis LeVert, when he came in, he was not very good in my opinion. There were a couple of times he came off screens and he just wasn't shooting. He was passing up really solid looks in the in-between game, kept kicking it out when guys were not open, and it was hurting the team. And I just think that the huge advantage, we talked about it in the preview, but the huge advantage that New York has is the bench. It's just night and day difference. Cleveland had Dean Wade, Jetty Osman, Ricky Rubio, and Karis LeVert coming off the bench. Jared Allen played 43 minutes. Darius Garland played 43 minutes. Donovan Mitchell played 44 minutes, and Evan Mobley played 38. The Knicks, nobody played over 34 minutes because they had Hartenstein play 22, Josh Hart played 33, Emmanuel Quickley played 24, and Obi Toppin played 14. So they have much more depth. And at halftime, it was 50-45 in favor of New York. The Cavs were still right there. The one thing I'll say is, when Julius Randle does hedge the screen, Evan Mobley was getting a lot of 4-on-3 situations, and he wasn't really lobbing it up to Jared Allen. You got to credit Mitchell Robinson for that. I think he was afraid to throw up the lob, but a couple of times he elected to just take the push shot or try to go up for the layup, and he was not hitting. He was missing chippies, like jump hooks, and he had one fadeaway over the right shoulder he missed short. He just wasn't hitting around the rim, and it was definitely hurting Cleveland. And their bench wasn't really giving them anything. It was really just Donovan and Darius Garland. And in the second half, Jalen Brunson finally started to get cooking, starting in the third quarter. He was posting up Darius Garland. He had turnarounds over his left shoulder. I mean, that guy, I love that Jalen Brunson has post game for a guard, got good lower body strength, great touch. He's also an in-between game master. Started seeing him get in the pick and roll a little bit. But Mobley and Allen, man, they do a really good job in the pick and roll and drop coverage. Really good job. The only thing is a lot of times, especially Jared Allen, I can see why they give up so many offensive rebounds because he goes for blocks a lot. And that leaves his man open on the offensive glass. So if a guy misses and he doesn't get the block, they're going to get an offensive rebound more often than not. And especially when they're leaving guys open at the 3-ball to sink in to protect the paint, those long misses are going to cause long rebounds. And those can go to anybody. You got to box out. And I think the Cavs, as the game went on, they showed the preview aged really perfectly so far. Everything Fabian and All Ball were saying happened. They're not a good defensive rebounding team, and the Knicks are a good offensive rebounding team between Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart and Randu. They totally took advantage of them. They won the game on the glass. No rebounds, no rings. Pat Riley said it. I say it over and over. It's a real thing. And the Knicks showed why it is. Randall slowed down a little bit second half. And the way Donovan Mitchell started really heating up in the third quarter. And the way he did that was he made this signal. And if you're listening on audio, basically to do it over and over again. And you know what he meant by that? Putting Julius Randle in the pick and roll. He came up. He was finding Evan Mobley on the pocket pass for those 4-on-3 reads. And when Jetty Osman came in the game, now they had a guy that was hitting threes. Thought he had a solid performance, and he even had some good defensive moments. At the end, yes, he got scored on a little bit, didn't help rebound, but he was better than Okoro. He's not a better defender, but he had some decent moments. He had 9 points in the game, 3 for 4 from the field, and he was 2 for 3 from deep. He was the only guy on the Cavs bench that gave him more than 3 points. Karis LeVert was 1 for 7. 1 for 7, 0 for 3 from deep. They need much more than that from him. Only 3 points is not going to cut it. Ricky Rubio, 0 for 1, a donut. Dean Wade, 2 points in 7 minutes. Jetty Osman was the only one of those guys that's plus minus was in the plus. For the Knicks, though, man. Josh Hart coming in, getting to the basket in transition, rebounding, just making all the little plays, playing good defense. And the guy who just went so quiet throughout the game was RJ Barrett. And you know what? I got to give Tom Thibodeau credit. He didn't overplay him. He knew exactly when it was time to go away from him and starting to limit him. Jalen Brunson was getting going. Josh Hart was getting going. RJ Barrett, you know what? You know what the crazy part is? Fabian said at some point in the season that he doesn't think RJ Barrett is a starter. He said he's a sixth man. A couple of people on Twitter were clowning him for it. But, man, it looked like that take aged pretty well because you can't tell me RJ Barrett is affecting the game more than Josh Hart. You can't. And, by the way, I want to give Josh Hart a shout-out for 2 reasons. 1, he's a Chelsea fan. And 2, because he has never played in a playoff game before this game. So I was really happy for him. And he played great. But Donovan Mitchell, when they were putting Randall in that pick and roll, they were getting a lot of success, and he was starting to make shots. A couple of times they were just dropping for no reason. If you want to drop on Donovan Mitchell, you just can't drop too deep because the second he comes off those screens, he'll pull a 3 and knock it down. He was finishing in the in-between game 2. Darius Garland, not bad as well. The Cavs, though, were outscored overall 28-25 in the third, and at the end, they were actually able to tie the game. It was getting really exciting. I was super entertained, man. So the 4 series, the Clippers series, the Lakers series, the Knicks series, and the Kings Warriors series are the top 4. And then there's a huge drop-off with the other 4. Although, Miami could make that one interesting. But Jared Allen made a tip to put the Cavs up 93-92 with 2:12 left. And then Tom Thibodeau made 2 really big substitutions. He put Quentin Grimes in for RJ Barrett, and he put Isaiah Hartenstein, former Clipper Isaiah Hartenstein, in for Mitchell Robinson. And Josh Hart with the shot clock winding down. By the way, Donovan Mitchell played really good defense too. He's showing everybody exactly what I saw in the regular season, that he is not the defender that he was in Utah in these last 2 years. He's trying harder. There's one play where he dove on the floor and tipped the ball at I forget who for a layup or dunk. And by the way, I also want to say the Knicks were putting Garland in the pick and roll a lot. They were trying to get him switched onto Brunson, and that's where Brunson was having some success. It wasn't to the point where he was like abusing him or anything, or Garland was a liability, but he's clearly the weakest link in that defense. But Josh Hart, with the shot clock winding down off the timeout after Jared Allen had given the Cavs the lead, hit a step back three, contested. I couldn't believe that shot. So clutch. Unreal. Put the Knicks up 2. Donovan Mitchell finally missed. He missed a 3. And then Jalen Brunson with a step back jumper. After that, Donovan Mitchell was able to make 2 free throws and make it a 2-point game. And this is when the no rebounds, no rings part comes in. Josh Hart misses a shot. Isaiah Hartenstein gets the offensive rebound, which leads to Jalen Brunson getting the ball, driving to his left for a beautiful one-handed floater off the glass. The Cavs call timeout and get a quick 2 to cut it down to 2. Jalen Brunson misses, and then Julius Randle gets the offensive rebound, and then that's the ball game. I got to say this about Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. They still rebound, but they do not, 1, box out enough, and 2, when they do, all they do is they just spread their arms. They don't put their butt down. I know it's weird and sounds weird. They don't put their butt down into the defender or into the offensive player so that they really can't get off the ground and explode. You got to take away their airspace. They're not doing it, just like putting their arms out and hoping the ball comes to them, trying to grab and stuff. How are you such good offensive rebounders and can't defensive rebound? No rebounds, no rings, no excuses there, man. So the moral of the story, Knicks have more depth. Cavs didn't get enough from their bench. Donovan and Garland, I thought, were fine. And no, I'm not going to say Donovan didn't close because he was playing amazing in the fourth. He just, he's not going to make every single shot. They got a rebound, but that counts Donovan and Garland too, because a lot of these are long misses, so they have to rebound. Okoro needs to be better. Mobley needs to finish around the basket, and Allen and him need to rebound. But a huge win for the Knicks. They had to get that one because they were up the majority of the game, and they took advantage on points off of turnovers a lot more than Cleveland. And they killed them on the offensive glass. So the Knicks with a big win, 101-97 in Cleveland. 27-23, the Cavs won the fourth quarter, but it didn't matter because the Knicks had an 8-point lead going into it. Let's read the line. So now a must-win game for Cleveland. I think they're definitely going to get it. I still stick by my pick, Cavs in 7. But if I had the opportunity to change my pick, I think, honestly, the Knicks may just have too much depth. And Jalen Brunson's just that dude. I mean, he closed the game out big time. Like, Randall quieted down in the second half, but one thing you really liked about Randall is that he didn't do too much. And that's a big criticism of Randall and a rightful one. He didn't do too much. Brunson killed it at the end and was awesome the entire second half. 101-97 New York. I'm still going to stay with Cavs in 7, though, as I said. Sticking with Cavs in 7, but the Knicks could easily win this series. As far as the starters for Cleveland, Okoro, 6 points on 1 for 6 shooting and 0 for 4 from deep. He needs to be better. Jared Allen, 14 points and 14 rebounds. So I know it sounds crazy because he's still got 11 defensive rebounds for me to criticize him like that. But still, he needs to do a better job. He really does. It's a lot of possessions in the game. The Knicks shot 88 shots. And he's on the floor for 43 minutes. So come on. Double-double, though, for him on 6 of 8 shooting. Evan Mobley, 8 points and 11 rebounds. 5 of those are offensive rebounds, so only 6 defensive rebounds. He needs to get more rebounds, defensive rebounds. 8 points, 11 boards, 4 for 13 from the field, though, and he didn't shoot a foul shot. So not a good game overall for Mobley, even though his defense was good, and he's contested Randall's shots really well. You need to be better offensively. They lost, so that's all that matters. Then the backcourt, the star backcourt. Darius Garland, 17 points, 4 steals. 1 assist, though. I think you may want to put Darius Garland as the ball handler in the pick and roll a little bit more than you did for the Cavs. He did get a lot of open threes, but, I think you want him on the ball a little bit more because 13 shots, you want him to shoot more than that. 7 for 13 from the field, 2 for 4 from deep. Donovan Mitchell, it's just, he's a very good playoff player. He's shown that. Obviously, was not good last year, though, and didn't end well in 2021 against us. but 38 points in this one, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 3 steals, and a block. I don't think he was at fault at all because he thought he played well. I thought he played well on defense too. 14 for 30 from the field. 16 of those shots were threes. Wow, it didn't feel like that. 6 for 16 from deep, so not bad, honestly. It's a lot of threes, though. 4 for 6 from the foul line. A good game for him, but it wasn't enough. The Knicks now. Obi Toppin played the least. He played only 14 minutes, but I thought he had a really solid contribution. 9 points, 4 rebounds, really active, energetic, added athleticism to the team. He was a plus 12 off the bench. He was 3 for 4, made a 3 in 2 attempts. Isaiah Hartenstein, 22 minutes played, had a huge offensive rebound, the biggest offensive rebound of his NBA career thus far. 8 points, a couple of those really nice push shots that we became so accustomed to seeing here in Los Angeles for the Clippers last year. 8 points for him, 5 rebounds, a huge decision for Tibbs to go with him at the end. 2 for 3 from the field, and he was a plus 19, which is the highest for any Knick. Emmanuel Quickley, in my opinion, the leading candidate for Sixth Man of the Year. He had a quieter game. He was 0 for 5 from the field. But his defense was still pretty good. 3 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, only 24 minutes for him. And I think that he's definitely going to play better in the next game. Quentin Grimes, 27 minutes played. Pretty quiet offensively. Good defensively, though. 5 points, 5 boards on 1 for 4 shooting and 1 for 4 from deep. I think the Knicks have a lot better perimeter defenders than the Cavs. RJ Barrett, 31 minutes played. 7 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, but 2 for 12 from the field and 1 for 5 from deep. Just nothing there really offensively. And then Mitchell Robinson, 6 points and 8 rebounds. Thought he did a pretty good job defensively and then rebounding. 5 offensive rebounds, so good job there. 3 for 5 from the field for him. And then Julius Randle, 19 and 10, 4 assists, 2 steals. He did have 5 turnovers, though, and he was 7 for 20 in the end, so he actually didn't end up shooting that well. 3 for 10 from deep. I think that's what he has to stop doing. Stop shooting so many fucking threes. 30%. He shot 10 times. Like, you're not that crazy of a three-point shooter, bro. Like, what does he shoot? 37%? 34%, even worse. He should not be shooting 10 threes. Like, who do you think you are, bro? Get in the mid-range. 7 for 20 from the field. I still think, though, because he played well in the first half and he got a huge offensive rebound and didn't do too much, I thought he was still good. And then Brunson, probably the player of the game. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go with Hart. Brunson, though, was arguably the player of the game. 27 points and 2 steals, 11 for 24 from the field. And I love that he doesn't shoot threes like that. 1 for 4 from deep, 4 for 4 from the line. The Villanova boys for New York, and the Villanova boys in general this weekend, Bridges and DiVincenzo too. About to talk about the Warriors in a second. But Josh Hart, in my opinion, the player of the game, was amazing. Rebounding, finishing in transition, hit the huge 3 late, 17 points, 10 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds, 8 for 11 from the field, 1 for 2 from deep. The Knicks only shoot 42% from the field and 27.6 from deep, but they did shoot 86% from the line on 19 for 22. So that was big time. The Cavs, 43% from the field, only 32% from 3, and 71% from the line on 15 for 21. The Cavs in a must-win game too, not a good loss. And the Knicks now have home court advantage. And now for the final one. Some might argue the main event. My most watched preview besides the Clippers one by my good guy, the local guy, and Dre, the Warriors and the Kings. What an atmosphere, as expected in Sacramento. I mean, it was fourth quarter level volume from the second the game tipped off. And I remember there was one dumbass, I forget who it was, on Twitter Spaces last year talking about the Kings needed to relocate and fold. They already tried that. That sounds like a person that either was too young for the Kings or does not know basketball history, because they have an amazing fan base and they had some of the most electric playoff games in NBA history in the early 2000s. So shame on people to make these kind of comments about really dedicated fan bases that are showing exactly why they should never relocate it anywhere. And I thought it was such an amazingly interesting game. In terms of, you watch every single game and then you watch that one, the pace of that one is just on another planet. Like Sacramento and the way the two teams play offense is just so beautiful. You know, one thing I was looking at was, as we talked about in the preview, how is Mike Brown going to guard Curry? And it was a steady dose, as we expected, of Sabonis hedging the ball screens hard, basically blitzing Steph Curry to get the ball out of his hands. And Klay Thompson got off to a really good start. 7 points, I think, in the first quarter. The Kings weren't really hitting threes like that. And Domantas Sabonis was missing a bunch of chippies around the basket. But at the end of one, it was tied 29-29. I think it was a lot of adrenaline at that point. And Steph Curry wasn't really getting too many clean looks. But you just got to love the offense. Yeah, I do agree with one of the comments here. That was the most illegal off-ball screens I've seen. But I just love the way that the split actions, the down screens, the pin downs that go into dribble handoffs. I mean, the spontaneous movement of these two teams is just amazing to watch. And, you see guys like Kevin Huerter now incorporating these things. In Atlanta, he was pretty stagnant. He'd come down off pin downs and curls and shit, but not with this kind of regularity, not with this kind of spontaneity. And in the second quarter, the Warriors started to flex their muscles a bit, and you got to give huge credit to Kevon Looney and Draymond Green. Thought their defense was just exceptional on Sabonis one-on-one, their rim protection. Draymond's hands were just unreal, his well-timed help. He looked every single bit of that Draymond Green we've known for many years now. One of the best defensive players to ever play basketball and one of the best of his generation, if not the best, in terms of what you consider, like, what's your definition of a great defender. I think in this era, being a good weak side help defender and being great defensively in the pick and roll is more important than being a great one-on-one defender. I think a one-on-one defense is more of a skill for sure. But I think if you were able to blow up plays the way Draymond does so frequently, and then also be able to guard one-on-one, which he can do, he's not as good at it anymore. That's where I give him the edge over certain guys in this era as the best defender. But they did a really good job on Sabonis, and the Warriors got some big help from their bench. You saw a 9-man rotation. It was Jordan Poole, GP2, Andrew Wiggins, and Jonathan Kuminga. And I want to give a shout out to Andrew Wiggins to see him come back. And this was the scariest part. He didn't look like he missed a day. He hadn't skipped a beat. He came in hitting step-back mid-ranges, hitting threes, attacking the offensive glass, getting blocks off, like pinning guys. It looked like Wiggins hadn't missed a day. So if you're the Warriors and their fans, yeah, he only played 28 minutes, but you're excited to give Wiggins more playing time. The only thing he didn't do well was shoot the three ball. It was 1 for 8 from deep. But overall, 7 for 16 from the field and 17 points and 4 blocks after having missed basically 2 months of basketball. I mean, that was amazing. And DiVincenzo, he was the one guarding Fox, which we expected, and Fox was the one guarding Curry, as we also expected. And he was fighting Fox. I thought he did a good job on him in the first half, Dante DiVincenzo. Just a very smart player, great addition to this team. Cuts without the ball, moves it. And, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, I thought they were decent in the first half, but Jordan Poole gave the Warriors a nice lift off the bench. Coming in, coming off screens, knocking down threes, knocking down pull-ups. And the Warriors went into halftime up 65 to – I'm sorry, it was 65 to 51. No. Yeah, it was 61 to 55. Golden State was winning by 6. The guys that actually came in and gave the Kings points were bench guys. Trey Lyles and Malik Monk, the Kentucky boys. Malik Monk was getting to the basket relentlessly, challenging Looney and Draymond at the rim, finishing strong through contact. Trey Lyles was able to come in and make threes, and that kind of kept the Kings in the game, even though Sabonis and Fox weren't really hitting. And Huerter and Murray and Barnes weren't really hitting either, especially Huerter and Murray. But second half, the Kings in the third quarter outscored the Warriors 36-29. And this game was very neck and neck the whole way. I mean, let me look up what were the biggest leads in this game, because it was just so close the entire way. Let's see. Largest lead for the Warriors was 10, and I think that was in the second quarter. Largest lead for the Kings was 6. So throughout the second half, it was very close. And that's when De'Aaron Fox started to get going. He started to get into the mid-range area, started getting into the paint. And when De'Aaron Fox does that, he's got an amazing array of turnarounds, one-handed floaters, push shots. He's just very tough to guard, and he gets very physical as well. Takes the bumps well. And because Andrew Wiggins, is not starting, you're not able to get him on De'Aaron Fox as much just yet. You saw Gary Payton in there, and you even saw Mike Brown for a while go box and one against Curry for a little bit, with Davion Mitchell guarding Steph Curry, and it was working pretty well. And then you saw Steve Kerr for a couple possessions counter that with Peyton doing a box and one on Fox. So I thought that was really interesting, just seeing the chess match between the two coaches. And in the third quarter, Fox started turning up, though. Fox started turning up. Malik Monk and Trey Lyles were picking up where they left off. It was just becoming a shootout. And in the third quarter, the Kings outscored the Warriors 36-29. They ended the third quarter super well, which gave them a lead going into the fourth quarter, 91-90. And, oh, man, the fourth quarter was something. Back and forth. Klay Thompson hitting buckets. Steph Curry was starting to get hot. But Malik Monk was just making big shot after big shot. And just the relentlessness in which he was attacking the rim was so impressive. But De'Aaron Fox, we were talking about clutch Fox, fourth quarter Fox, pulling up for those mid-ranges. Guys are going to go under screens at times with him. He's done a good job of making them pay. And then when defenses go over screens, does a good job of keeping defenders on his hip, hitting that little step back when he's going to his right now that he's got in his bag. And obviously the floater, as I talked about. Sabonis, he may have not been making his shots. He was missing everything around the basket. As I said, you got to credit Draymond and Looney, but he was rebounding. He was fighting, keeping possessions alive, similarly to how Russ did for the Clippers. And the Kings fans appreciated that. That's another thing. You got to find ways, as I say all the time in the playoffs, to affect the game when your shots aren't falling. And Domantas Sabonis' shots weren't falling. There was great defense. You're playing against the best defenders. You're playing against the highest level of competition. But you find other ways to contribute by getting rebounds. And the Kings just stayed ahead. And late in the game, Steph Curry started to get hot. He and Klay Thompson started making some big shots. And I'm not going to lie, I was starting to get a little nervous with the Kings. I wanted them to win this game. I want to see the Warriors kind of squirm a little bit. They've never lost the first two games on the road of any series they've played in the Curry era. The first two road games, whether they're the higher seed or the lower seed, they have split them every single time. Klay Thompson was 2 for 4 in the fourth. All the shots were threes. He made two of them. Steph Curry, some of the shots he was making in the fourth, he was getting aggressive. He was 5 for 8 in the fourth quarter, and it was the stretch where Curry came out of the game around the end of the third where the Kings started putting on a run. And, that's normal, man. Steph Curry, he's going to have to rest. You want him to play the whole second half, that's very hard. Maybe he'll get gassed at the end. You could argue maybe Kerr kept him out a little too long. Maybe he should have done what the Clippers did with Kawhi, just sit him out for like 2 minutes and then bring him back in. I think hindsight's 2020. He'll probably do that in the second game, but that stretch kind of hurt them. But that being said, they were only down by 1, And I think the Kings, they just did a good job closing. That home crowd, I'm going to tell you, it's very hard to beat that home crowd. If anybody can do it, it's the Warriors. They're battle-tested. They've been in more hostile environments than basically any team in this playoffs. But it's hard to win against that kind of crowd. I'm being serious. And with 47 seconds left, it was a 1-point game. Steph Curry had hit 7 straight points for the Warriors. And De'Aaron Fox missed the step back. Malik Monk gets the offensive rebound, and then Fox misses again. And then this is where the big possession came. Steph Curry didn't want to go against Davion Mitchell. Did the LeBron. He called for a screen. You know what they're going to do on the screen. They're going to blitz Klay Thompson in the short roll. Found Andrew Wiggins for a wide open left corner three. It was a great look. He missed it back of the rim. The Kings were then fouled. Both free throws were made by Malik Monk. And then the Warriors called time. Steph Curry, it was a really nice play, by the way, by Kerr. Steph Curry got a three off. It was a one-legged three going to his left, and it didn't go. And the Sacramento Kings lit that fucking beam as they beat the Warriors in game one, 126 to 123. What a win for the Kings. They outscored the Warriors 35-33 in the fourth quarter, scored 71 points in the second half to the Warriors 62. And look, the biggest problem for the Warriors, they couldn't contain the ball at the point of attack. That's going to need more minutes from Andrew Wiggins next game, 30-plus minutes. DiVincenzo only played 20, but the other guys, they struggled at the point of attack, and Sacramento's defense, look, it did enough. You know what I mean? It did enough. The Warriors actually shot well, though. That's the crazy part. 37. Actually, no, they didn't. 32% from three. So they didn't shoot that well from three. They shot 53s, by the way, Golden State. Made 16 of them. So maybe that's a little bit much. I didn't even notice that. 28 of them by the Splash Brothers combined, which honestly you'll take. 11 for 28 isn't very good, though. But like Wiggins shooting 8 of them, it's a little much. But yeah, if there's any team that can take 53s, it's the Warriors, but that's still a lot. I think they could still mix up some more mid-ranges in there, try to be a little bit more aggressive. But defensively, it's going to be hard to win when you allow 126 points. The Kings are going to allow a lot of points. But the Warriors, you don't expect them to allow a lot of points. Their defense hasn't been as good this year, but it's been better lately. They're going to need to tighten it up, especially at the point of attack, if they're going to want to win this series. And now it's going to make game 2 basically a must-win for both sides. The reason why I say that is this. If the Kings go up 2-0, then the Warrior fans will actually be scared because this has never happened to them before. Now you're going to have to come back from a 2-0 deficit. You're going to have to win 4 out of the next 5 games, right? Yeah. You got to win 4 out of the next 5. So that's tough to do. And I don't know if they'll do it with this team. They're going to have to get some stops. It's going to be tough because this Kings offense is electric. So, and then if you're the Kings, the reason why I say it's a must win is because if you lose second game, 1-1 going back to Chase Center with the way they played at home and the experience that they have, it's tough. And I'm not going to lie, man. I picked Warriors in 6, and I still feel pretty good about that pick. I think I'm going to come out and win the next game because look, even though they should have probably won that game, a loss like that, it doesn't demoralize a team that's that battle tested. I get it if it's a younger team that has a chance to steal and they didn't get the job done. We didn't really have a team that did that. I would have said maybe if the Knicks had lost, but they won. And maybe if the Clippers had lost, it would have demoralized them, but they won. The Warriors are battle tested. They've been there before, and they're going to bounce back, and they're going to shoot better from 3. I think you're going to actually have a more efficient shooting game from Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, believe it or not, even though Steph still shot 11 for 20 from the field. So still shot 55%, which is just incredible. And it felt like he was kind of quiet, too. That's the crazy part. Like, I actually think that Mike Brown did a pretty good job with his scheme of trying to get Steph Curry to not take too many shots. I mean, 20 shots, that's fine. That's fine to me. Let's read the lines. The Kings go 9 deep. Alex Len, I'm so bad I forgot to mention him. I thought he actually played great. He gave them some amazing minutes. Finished around the rim, defended pretty well. He got a block. He had 7 rebounds, 2 of them offensive rebounds. He was 2 for 2 in 13 minutes, plus 10. So Alex Len showing off some good minutes with the Kings off the bench. And then Davion Mitchell only played 22 minutes. He had 3 points and 4 assists on 1 for 3 shooting and 1 for 2 from 3, but it's the defense with him. He makes the defense so much better. He's the best on-ball defender they have, and he was valuable in those 22 minutes that he played in. Trey Lyles, amazing game for him. Amazing. Had to be his best playoff game yet. 16 points and 6 boards on 6 for 8 shooting and 4 for 6 from deep. He was absolutely lights out. They needed him. He and Malik Monk combined for 48 points off the bench. Overall, the Kings had 55 points off the bench to the Warriors 50, and the Kings won by 3. They outscored on the bench by 4. Definitely made a little bit of a difference. Malik Monk played 29 minutes in this game, 32 points, 8 for 13 from the field, 2 for 4 from deep, and 14 for 14 from the line. Amazing performance by Malik Monk. You can argue he was the player of the game. Then the starters. Keegan Murray just had a cold game. I think he's definitely going to play better than that. 2 points on 1 of 5 shooting and 0 for 3 from deep in just 16 minutes in his first playoff game. Kevin Huerter also had a tough night, man. 6 points on 3 for 12 shooting and 0 for 5 from deep. Harrison Barnes, really solid performance actually for him. He started out a little bit quiet, but he made some big shots, and he actually guarded Steph Curry a little bit. Was struggling, but the fact that he even took that challenge and didn't get completely smoked was big time. So Harrison Barnes, 13 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals on 5 for 11 shooting and 1 for 3 from deep against his former team. And then the duo, Sabonis, 12 points and 16 boards to go along with 3 steals, only 2 assists in this game. He did turn the ball over 4 times, so you're going to want to limit that. 5 for 17 from the field for Sabonis and 2 for 4 from the foul line, so not a good shooting night at all, but 5 offensive rebounds for him, 16 overall. Find a way to contribute when you're not scoring. and you'll win games. And then probably the player of the game. He lit that beam. 40 minutes. The man drafted to Sacramento in 2017 in his 6th season, made his first All-Star appearance this year, and closed out with a dominant second half. 38 points, 5 assists, 3 steals. He was ready for the fucking moment. 13 for 27 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, 8 for 12 from the line. Fantastic, Mr. De'Aaron Fox. 38 points, that leads all scorers, and he leads his team to victory in game 1. As for the Warriors, the player that played the least minutes out of the rotation was Jonathan Kuminga. He played 10 minutes, and I thought he was pretty solid in those minutes. 8 points, showing off his athleticism, finishing around the rim. He was 3 for 6, missed his only 2 threes. Gary Payton, the second, played only 20 minutes. He had 8 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 2 steals. I thought he was really solid in his minutes. Was able to be in that dunker spot, finish around the basket. And when the Warriors create turnovers, he's really good at getting out in transition. He was 4 for 7 from the field, 0 for 2 from deep. Not a good three-point shooter. Dante DiVincenzo played 20 minutes. I don't know why he only played 20 minutes. Probably should have played more. But I was honestly just so in awe of the game. I wasn't really looking at it from a Warriors or Kings perspective. I was just kind of watching it generally. So I wasn't really locking in on the defense, more just kind of marveling in the offense. More so looking at the way they would guard certain pick and rolls. And mind you, the Kings, they weren't really putting Draymond in the action like that because Looney's the one guarding Sabonis. Draymond was guarding Keegan Murray. And I know they could probably run some pick and pop actions for Murray, but they would probably just switch that action. And yeah, they definitely would. And just putting Draymond in the action is kind of counterproductive. So the Kings are kind of steering away from that, I noticed. DiVincenzo, 10 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists on 3 for 5 shooting and 2 for 4 from deep. He was very efficient. Probably should have played more. But again, I had to watch the game from a Warriors-only perspective to kind of maybe see what Kerr's angle was there. I wonder if more Warriors fans were complaining about that because I wasn't on Twitter last night. I had to watch all these games on Sunday. I had to watch 3 of them on Saturday night. I avoided results all day. Watched 3 straight games back-to-back. I couldn't watch the Warriors game. I fell asleep. I was too tired. It was like 3 in the morning. So I woke up today at like 9:30, 10 a.m. and watched it before the Laker game. So, yeah, next level commitment, right? Because I'm trying to do this episode for you thoroughly with all 8 games recapped. Well, I'm at over 2 fucking hours, man. I can't believe my throat's getting dry. I'm tired. I still got to record Locked On Clippers after all this. Can you believe that? Grind don't stop, though. It's the playoffs. But yes, DiVincenzo, 10 points. So I didn't see what Warriors fans were saying. I saw one Warriors fan. He's ridiculous, though. He's not really a Warriors fan. He's a Curry stan, talking about the period where Steve Kerr, sat Curry out, costing the game. Look, it was still a 1-point game going into the 4th. I get it swings momentum, but you just don't know if Curry's going to have those legs at the end of the game if you play him the whole way. Maybe you could say to play him to sit him a little bit shorter in that period, but we'll see what happens in game 2. It's not the end of the world. Andrew Wiggins. I'm sorry, no. Jordan Poole played 22 minutes. Second half was not very good. First half was, though. Thought he was struggling defensively, but he had 17 points and 3 assists on 4 for 10 shooting, 2 for 5 from deep, 7 for 8 from the line. Jordan Poole, 17 points is good, but he's got to be a little bit better defensively. Got to try a little bit harder. Andrew Wiggins, 28 minutes played in his return, 17 points, 4 blocks on 7 for 16 shooting, but 1 for 8 from deep, and didn't have a good 3-point shooting game, which I could expect, coming off straight off this, probably a little rusty shooting the ball, but everything else looked good. Moving good, athleticism looked good. Of course, he wasn't hurt, so. But 2 for 4 from the line for Wiggs. One of those free throws definitely could have made a little difference. Also, Jordan Poole missing a free throw. As for the starters, besides DiVincenzo, of course, Kevon Looney played 32 minutes. Their Iron Man, 8 points, 9 rebounds, 1 block, and 1 steal. A lot of Kings fans were kind of dissing Looney and saying, what's he going to do against Sabonis? Well, he held his own and looked fantastic. He kind of locked him up. There was obviously some help there, but really good defense from Loon. 8 points, 9 boards for him. And then Draymond Green, 4 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists, 2 steals and a block. 11 assists. Didn't feel like he had 11 assists. Only 5 shot attempts and made 1 of them. It was 0 for 1 from deep. So 4 points may not be enough. You still may need some more points from Draymond. Still, I said last year in their playoff run, they needed 10 points from him. He needed to average 10 points for them to win the championship. And I'm pretty sure that he didn't. I'm pretty sure he didn't average 10 points in the playoff run. but he had big games towards the end, and he had some better scoring games in the finals at the last couple of games. But let me see. I don't know. Let me see what he averaged in the playoffs last year. So he averaged 6 points in the finals. But in the overall playoffs, he averaged, let's see, Draymond, 8 points. So they won a championship without even averaging 10. So I was wrong on that. I think Draymond was great defensively. I think he can obviously be a little more efficient. 1 for 5 is not good. But I think, honestly, he gave you what you needed. His defense was so good. 4 points, 9 rebounds, 11 assists. And then the Splash Bros, Klay Thompson, 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. I thought he was actually pretty good. 5 for 14 from 3. But honestly, probably still wasn't, could be more efficient. Could still make more of those shots. Obviously, a good amount under 50% there in field goals and three-pointers. So, yeah, you could say Klay Thompson should be a little bit better. I think I kind of just got wooed by his first quarter and fourth quarter where I thought he was good. Steph Curry. Overall, I mean, it was Mike Brown's strategy to get the ball out of his hand, not let him beat you. And I think they did a good job overall. Of course, Curry off the ball is still going to find his way to get shots off. 30 points, 6 rebounds for him, but he had 5 turnovers. So that was big. 11 for 20 from the field, 6 for 14 from deep. I was going to say, I was so close to saying Curry didn't do enough, but then he turned up in the fourth, so I can't really say he didn't do enough. The decision at the end may have been questionable to call for a screen and not just go one-on-one against Davion Mitchell, but Wiggins got a clean look. It was a pretty good pass and a good play, and it just didn't happen for him. But we'll see how Steph Curry bounces back. It's going to be tough, but I think they're going to do it. Steph Curry, in my opinion, not really at fault. He was a plus 11 in the game too. 30 points, 11 for 20, 6 for 14 from 3. The Warriors, they do a better job defending, and hopefully for them, they can shoot the 3-ball better because 32% ain't going to cut it. But the Kings, they also didn't really shoot the 3-ball that well. 37.5%, though, is pretty good. So not horrendous. And also, as I said, 81% from the foul line, 26 for 32, whereas the Warriors were 21 for 27. So they missed the same amount, but they shot 5 less. The Kings with a huge win, 126-123. Taking care of business and now getting some confidence. And this next one is going to be massive. I cannot wait for tomorrow's games. Cannot wait. Golden State, Sacramento, game 2. We're going to be live right here on Dime Dropper. Please, I hope you enjoyed this video. Shout out to everybody that was here. 62 people now, over 100 at one point. Thank you so much. Obviously, if you got to this point and you actually listened to the whole 2 hours, you're amazing. I'm going to obviously have them timestamped for the games. But thank you so much. Please remember to subscribe if you're not and comment on this video the second I end it for the algorithms, please. They help. We're really killing it right now. My subscriber count is going up every single week. Let's keep this momentum because I ain't trying to slow down and go back to last year. Keep commenting. Best fans in the world. Love you all. I'll see you tomorrow night.